Chapter 767. After hearing what Su Yiyan said, Huo Chenhuan was even more certain that Dou Qianni had come prepared. If it were you, could you cure him? Su Yiyan was stunned. After a moment of silence, she shook her head. Not to mention that she was just a half-baked doctor. Even if she was a doctor who had grown up in a proper way, there were still many diseases that could not be cured. She was a human, not a god. She could work hard to change the fate of herself and the people around her, but after all, she could not be above all things and easily control the life and death of others. Seeing this, Huo Chenhuan could not tell whether she was more relieved or surprised. Her mood was a little complicated. His illness came from his mother's womb. It has been there since he was born. To be able to live until now, he must have thought of many ways to cure it over the years. Unfortunately, it can only be alleviated, not cured, and the effect is not very good. Su Yiyan had a flash of inspiration when she said this. Chenhuan, do you think he suddenly came to my shop because it's possible? Huo Chenhuan supported Su Yiyan and comforted her. Don't worry. He must have seen those people on the internet talking about your live broadcast room and came here on a whim. You just said that there won't be much of a change if he only eats it once. Even if there is a chance, I will ask Xiaoyang and the others to keep an eye on him. They won't be able to trace it back to you. Su Yiyan was comforted by his words and she felt a little relieved. She replied in a low voice, yeah. After comforting Su Yiyan, Huo Chenhuan took the time to go downstairs. The first thing he did was to call Gu Xiaoyang and the others and ask them to keep an eye on the Dou family. Although he coaxed Su Yiyan to believe that Dou Qianni was just doing it on a whim, in fact, he knew better than anyone that Dou Qianni had been eyeing his wife for a few months. Now that he had not found her after circling around, he ran to Su Yiyan's shop. Obviously he did not intend to stop there. Before she could finish her sentence, Zheng Qianyang returned. Huo Chenhuan didn't hide it from him and finished her words in front of him. Zheng Qianyang got the gist of it and took the initiative to ask, what happened to Yan Yan? Someone is investigating her. Who? Dou Qianni. Dou Qianni? Zheng Qianyang's main business was not in China, and the Dou family basically had nothing to do with Huo Chenhuan before this. Hearing this name out of the blue, he couldn't help but feel a little confused. Huo Chenhuan also noticed this and gave him a simple explanation about Dou Qianni, the Dou family, and his relationship with Wen Jingping. You're saying that the young master of the Dou family is with the woman who harmed Yan Yan before? Zheng Qianyang had heard about the bad debt between Su Yiyan and Huo Xiaofeng when he was abroad. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suspected that his nephew had been cuckolded as soon as Su Yiyan got pregnant. It was only during this period of time when he returned that Zheng Qianyang had seen how the two of them interacted and how much they had done for each other. On the contrary, Zheng Qianyang was glad that someone had been blind back then. She had let go of such a big treasure and instead, it had been picked up by his silly son. While Zheng Qianyang felt that it was ironic, he also didn't have a good impression of Huo Xiaofeng and the woman who knew that he had a fiancée but still claimed that she was his true love. After learning that Dou Qianni was related to this woman, Zheng Qianyang's first reaction was, is he here to cause trouble for Yan Yan? I don't think so. Don't think so? Huo Chenhuan frowned. Yan Yan said that he has a congenital disease and it's very serious. Zheng Qianyang froze and his expression became a little more serious. He wants to find Yan Yan to treat him? Chapter 768. That's not impossible. Huo Chenhuan hesitated for a moment, then told him about how she found out that Dou Qianni had secretly sent people to investigate Su Yiyan. At that time I had people release a few smoke bombs to distract them. They did stop for a period of time. Huo Chenhuan believed in the skills of Yu Zian and the others. She thought that Dou Qianni had been busy for a few months and couldn't find anyone, so he took the risk and ran directly to Su Yiyan's store to try his luck. A certain someone who had fallen into a blind spot would never have thought that the person she had painstakingly lured out would be exposed by a diamond ring in the end. Zheng Qianyang heard his words and his expression became serious. He had noticed the things in Su Yiyan's hands after he came back. Although she did not know where she got these things, it was because of these things that Huo Chenhuan was able to recover to his current state. Zheng Qianyang had no intention of prying into the secrets of the younger generation, but he also knew that an ordinary man's wealth was his own ruin. When you were on the verge of death, some people wouldn't care if you were embarrassed or not. Human nature couldn't withstand the test of one's own life and interests. This is indeed a bit tricky. It's okay if the person who helped treat the patient knows how to be grateful, but if they take it for granted, then... Zheng Qianyang frowned. Since the young master of the Dou family is with that woman, it's very likely that it's the latter. How could Huo Chenhuan not understand this? A cold glint flashed across his eyes. Yes. It would be best if Do Channy couldn't be found, but it didn't matter even if they found out. Since this person was with Wen Jingping, it was only a matter of time before they confronted each other. Do Channy's sudden appearance reminded Su Yiyan of Wen Jingping, who didn't have much of a presence during this time. Wen Jingping seemed to have kept a low profile during this time and didn't cause any trouble. After a careful investigation, he found out that it wasn't that she didn't want to cause trouble, but that she couldn't even protect herself and didn't have the energy to cause trouble. Ever since the day the crew announced her identity as the female lead of the new drama, Wen Jingping had been in deep trouble. A newcomer who had just entered the entertainment circle not long ago was cast as the female lead of a major production that the company had invested heavily in. This was enough to make countless people envious and jealous. Ever since she joined the cast and acted as the female lead of this drama, countless pairs of eyes in the company had been staring at her. Many female artists were secretly guessing how powerful her background was and how well off her family was to be able to become the female lead as soon as she entered the company. Before she could figure it out, Wen Jingping's previous comments gave her a heavy blow. Zhuo Wanshu's sudden withdrawal from the cast was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Actually, Wen Jingping did not have any feelings for Zhuo Wanshu. Rather, she was a little envious and jealous. After all, what Zhuo Wanshu had obtained was exactly what she had been dreaming of. However, she had never expected that Zhuo Wanshu would directly announce her withdrawal from the cast when she was being criticized by the entire internet. Zhuo Wanshu's actions were like roasting Wen Jingping on a fire. Even if she had given a reasonable reason before leaving, the blame was destined to fall on her. Wen Jingping was shocked and angry. Her first reaction was to run to Do Channy for help and ask him to hide this woman who had disobeyed the company's arrangements. However, it turned out that Wen Jingping had overestimated herself. None of the countless calls she made went through, and Do Channy completely lost contact from that day onwards. However, this wasn't the most terrifying thing. Chapter 769. Zhuo Wanshu did not care about the company's reputation and left without permission. Everyone thought that she was in big trouble. The female artistes in Hai Yi, who had been suppressed by Zhuo Wanshu, were waiting to see her make a fool of herself. They all wanted Zhuo Wanshu to make room for them. Unfortunately, these people were destined to be disappointed. After Zhuo Wanshu left the cast, she was not frozen. Instead, she took on a few high-end luxury brand endorsements. She was even chosen by an international director and successfully transitioned to the big screen. Her value was even higher than before, and she was not affected by her departure at all. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the company was on Zhuo Wanshu's side. On the other hand, Wen Jingping's situation instantly became awkward. These days, Wen Jingping felt that whether she went to the set or returned to the company, everyone looked at her with disdain. Some of the older artistes in the crew who had some opinions about her even started to get restless and were ready to go on strike at any time. However, they did not have Zhuo Wanshu's status and confidence, and they could not afford to pay the breach of contract, so they could only endure for now. Even so, Wen Jingping's treatment in the crew was not as good as before. Without Do Channy's protection, Wen Jingping was in deep trouble every day. After being ignored for a month, she finally could not take it anymore. She took the initiative to go to Do Channy's place to look for him, but she was rejected at the door. Do Channy was not like Hua Xiaofeng, who was easily coaxed by her sweet words. Before she could get close to Do Channy, she was stopped by Li Yu. Boss asked me to tell Miss Wen that there were conditions when he agreed to invest in this drama and let Miss Wen be the female lead. Since Miss Wen has met Boss's conditions, then Boss's promise to you naturally depends on the situation. Wen Jingping was stunned. Only then did she remember that when Do Channy agreed to her request to invest in this drama, he had certain requirements for her acting skills. For this reason, Do Channy even specially hired a professional teacher to teach her how to act. But in the end, Wen Jingping was just a person. In the original work, she had climbed to the top step by step. Even if he had the guidance of a famous teacher, it was easier said than done if he wanted to be as skillful as those old seniors who had been in the industry for many years in just 2 to 3 months. At that time, Miss Wen swore that she would perform well in this drama and make everyone look at her in a different light. But from the looks of it now, it's still unknown whether this series will be able to impress people in the future. However, Miss Wen, you don't seem to have the ability to gain the recognition of your colleagues in the production team. Li Yu had an appropriate smile on her face, but her eyes were cold as she looked at Wen Jingping. Boss told me to tell you that Zhuo Wanshu's matter will not happen again. There won't be any more problems with the production team's follow-up filming. This is the boss's final tolerance for you. I hope that Miss Wen will be able to grasp this final opportunity to film this movie well and earn back our boss's investment. Wen Jingping's eyes narrowed. What did he mean? What do you mean by not doing it again? What final tolerance? Wasn't Zhuo Wanshu's withdrawal from the production team her own fault? She didn't do anything. Why was he blaming her? Also, what did he mean by that last sentence? If she didn't film this movie well and earn back his investment, would Dou Qianyi give up on her? No, that couldn't be. He wouldn't do that to her. She was clearly his savior. Chapter 770. Wen Jingping had long seen that Dou Qianyi was different from Huo Xiaofeng. To him, benefits were paramount, and useless people were destined to be abandoned. But now that things had really come to this point, Wen Jingping couldn't help but feel bitterly disappointed. She increasingly regretted that she had chosen such a person in a hurry. Wen Jingping opened her mouth and was about to speak when Liu Yu's cold gaze swept over her. She was so scared that she trembled. Her tone also weakened a lot. She braced herself and begged, "Mr. Li, I want to see him. I have something to say to him. Please let me in to see him." It was self-evident who this him was referring to. Liu Yu looked at Wen Jingping with pity. It was as if he could already see this person's fate not long after. But pity was pity. He couldn't really let her in just because of a moment of pity. A pitiful person must have a hateful side. She couldn't understand her own position. In the end, no matter what she ended up in, it wouldn't be wrong. "Miss Wen, if you have anything to say, you can tell me directly. I will pass on your message. Boss hasn't been in good health recently and has closed the door to visitors. Please understand, Miss Wen." When Wen Jingping heard what he said, her heart became even colder. Previously, she had accompanied Dou Qianyi when he wasn't feeling well. At that time, she was immensely proud of herself. She felt that Dou Qianyi was so dependent on her that he wouldn't be able to leave her in the future. Who would have thought that only a few months later she would actually fall out of favor? Wen Jingping almost clenched her teeth until they bled. What exactly went wrong? Wen Jingping was puzzled. Su Yiyan was also dumbfounded when he received the feedback from the people he had sent to keep an eye on Wen Jingping. Wen Jingping and Dou Qianyi actually didn't live together? Dou Qianyi lived in the old house of the Dou family, but he arranged a small apartment for Wen Jingping outside? Su Yiyan was a little surprised. According to the original novel, Dou Qianyi cared so much about Wen Jingping. Now that she had walked right into his trap, shouldn't he hide her at home? However, it was good news for Su Yiyan that the male and female leads of the aristocratic family were not as intimate as she had imagined. In the original work, Wen Jingping's biggest reliance was those who were willing to pave the way for her, and in the end, were forced to sacrifice themselves to fulfill her beautiful career and love with the male lead. Now that these things were gone, how could she continue to jump around? When the child was 9 months old, Qing Xiuqin finally moved into the family home mansion temporarily with all their belongings. The person who sent her here was Su Yuxuan. As soon as Su Yiyan saw her brother who was single, she immediately thought of her sister-in-law who had flown away. She looked at Su Yuxuan with a bit of grief in her eyes. As soon as Su Yuxuan met his sister's eyes, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. His intuition told him that she was thinking about something dangerous. Since Su Yiyan's pregnancy had caused a lot of trouble for the family, Su Yuxuan put down Qing Xiuqin and hurriedly ran away. He was afraid that if he was a few minutes late, he would become his sister's new toy, on a whim. As soon as Su Yuxuan ran away, Su Yiyan pulled Qing Xiuqin and said worriedly, "Mom, brother is not young anymore. It's time to find someone close to him to live with." Qing Xiuqin's eyes lit up. She grabbed Su Yiyan's hand and said excitedly, Right? I think so too. You see, your baby is about to be born, but your brother is still single. There doesn't seem to be any girls around him that are particularly suitable for him. Every time I talk to your dad about this, he always says there's no hurry. It's really the case that the emperor is not worried, but the eunuch is worried to death. Su Yiyan couldn't help but laugh. Mom, are you treating yourself as a eunuch? Chapter 771. The baby in Su Yiyan's belly seemed to sense its mother's mood. It moved slightly to show its existence. Qing Xiuqin was stunned and glared at her angrily. It's just a metaphor. Okay. It's just a metaphor. But Dad is right. Brother is not in a hurry to get married, but he can't be in a relationship, right? Su Yiyan said curiously and moved closer to Qing Xiuqin. Mom, my brother is not bad looking. He's a rich second generation. He's tall, rich and handsome. Hasn't anyone chased after him? There has been. Qing Xiuqin frowned. But those girls are either impure or your brother doesn't like them. Su Yiyan muttered, Mom, haven't you thought about arranging a blind date for my brother? As soon as Su Yiyan said this, Hua Chenhuan, who was sitting opposite them, stopped what she was doing and looked up at her wife in surprise. Cheng Xiuqin's expression froze and she didn't say anything. Su Yiyan sighed. Mom, are you still feeling guilty about what happened between me and Hua Xiaofeng? So you don't dare to arrange a blind date for my brother? Su Yiyan and Hua Xiaofeng's marriage contract was set by the parents of the two families. At that time, Cheng Xiuqin thought that her daughter wouldn't suffer if she married him because she knew him well. Who would have thought that one could never judge a book by its cover? Because of her assumption, she almost pushed her daughter into the fire pit with her own hands. Once bitten, twice shy. Cheng Xiuqin's current mentality was more or less the same. Mom, you're going down a dead end. Although there are people like Hua Xiaofeng's family in this world, there are also people like Chenhuan who can't overturn the whole boat with one pull. Cheng Xiuqin. Although that's true, touch your conscience and ask yourself, are you deliberately mixing private goods into your words to show off your affection? Previously, there were indeed a few sisters who wanted to introduce girls to your brother. At that time, I also thought that your brother probably didn't like blind dates, so I rejected them all. You haven't even asked him. How do you know he doesn't like it? Cheng Xiuqin thought about it and agreed. Then I'll go back and ask him? Yes. Su Yiyan paused for a moment before she continued. Actually, Mom, you could have gotten someone to check on the girl's character, family background, and personality before you made the arrangements for brother. Of course, you can't ask your sisters about it and have someone secretly investigate it. After all, what you hear may be false, but seeing is believing. Since she was worried, she would send someone to investigate in advance. After a round of screening, she would let her brother go. This way, not only would it save both of them time, it would also reduce many unnecessary conflicts. Cheng Xiuqin was a little moved by Su Yiyan's words. That's a good idea. Right? That's why they say that seeing is believing. Help brother check on this aspect first and then let him contact her. You can rest assured. Otherwise, if my brother is blinded by beauty and finds a flirtatious slut back home, will our family still have peace? Yes, what you said makes sense. Hua Chenhuan sat at the side and watched as her daughter-in-law secretly helped her mother-in-law arrange blind dates for her brother-in-law. She looked very much like a treacherous official who slandered the emperor in ancient times. In her heart, she silently lit a row of candles for her brother-in-law. She only hoped that he would be strong and not collapse because of the upcoming blind date army. Achoo! Big brother Su, who had escaped at the fastest speed, couldn't help but sneeze loudly. Why did he feel cold all over on such a sunny day? He had really seen a ghost. Chapter 772. Su Yiyan suffered a lot during her pregnancy. At first, she had morning sickness for more than half a month. Later, when she felt better, she felt sore and weak in her limbs and was extremely sleepy. In the later stages of her pregnancy, her stomach was very heavy, and her feet were so swollen that she could not wear shoes. Hua Chenhuan was so anxious that he wanted to suffer for her, but there was nothing he could do. Later, he heard that it would be much better to massage Su Yiyan's feet before going to bed. So, he helped her soak her feet and massage it on time every day. He was so virtuous. Su Yiyan sat on the edge of the bed and could clearly feel Hua Chenhuan's hands pressing back and forth on his heels and calves. His little face was slightly red. It was unknown whether it was because he was shy or because of the steam from the hot water in the basin. If the employees in your company see you like this, they will definitely lose all their dignity. Why should I be dignified in front of my wife? Hua Chenhuan looked up at Su Yiyan and smiled slightly. Only those who are not capable will be arrogant at home. Those who were capable would have vented all their emotions outside. Why would they bring it home? Su Yiyan smiled and deliberately teased him. Don't you think it's shameful? What's so shameful about doting on my wife? Have you forgotten that your husband is a henpecked husband outside? Outside is outside. At home is not outside. So, at home, you have to work harder to consolidate your image so that you won't be exposed when you go out. Hua Chenhuan said and leaned over to kiss Su Yiyan. Besides, didn't you massage me like this in the past? Do you think it's shameful? Su Yiyan was stunned. She lowered her head and touched Hua Chenhuan's forehead. No. Then it's fine. Hua Chenhuan's eyes flashed with a smile, but soon the smile was replaced by heartache. Does it hurt? Hua Chenhuan touched Su Yiyan's swollen ankle as if he was touching a fragile object. It doesn't hurt. This is normal. It means that the baby is growing well in the womb. As soon as Su Yiyan finished speaking, the baby in her stomach gave a cheerful response. Seeing this, Huo touched her little belly and said seriously, "When the baby is born, you have to treat your mother well. Otherwise, I'll spank him." Su Yiyan glared at him reproachfully. He's not even born yet. How would he know these things? While he still doesn't understand, let's set some rules in advance so that it'll be easier to control him in the future. Su Yiyan, I suspect that you are deliberately bullying an ignorant child, and I have evidence. Huo, who had accurately received his wife's resentful gaze, smiled slightly and decisively changed the topic. Why did you suddenly think of arranging a blind date for your brother? My sister-in-law has already flown away. It's not good for my brother to continue being single. Su Yiyan didn't mention this before because she wanted to matchmake Ling Xiaoqi and her brother. Now that Ling Xiaoqi had feelings for another man, this path naturally wouldn't work. You don't know. My brother is different from others. Different? Huo raised his eyebrows. How is he different? Could it be that he couldn't do it? Su Yuxuan. You can't do it. Your whole family can't do it. Su Yiyan didn't know what Huo was thinking. She only sighed and said, my brother dated a woman when he was in university. That woman was ambitious. Her motive for getting close to my brother wasn't very simple. Chapter 773. This was actually a little secret of the Su family. After all, it was one of the few dark histories of Su Yuxuan when he was young and ignorant. Don't look at my brother now. Although he's very good at business, he's a blank piece of paper when it comes to relationships. When that woman was dating him, she ate his food and used his money. She even thought of all kinds of ways to make my brother buy her expensive things to get money from him. Although the Su family was considered a slightly above-average wealthy family, they had been strict with the children in the family since they were young. Su Yiyan was fine. Because she was the youngest child of two families and the only girl, it was inevitable that the elders would help her with her pocket money. Su Yuxuan was different. Cheng Xiuqin and his wife had always controlled his pocket money to a certain extent. If he wanted to spend more, he had to earn it himself. This had never changed before he took over the company. Fortunately, that woman saw that although Su Yuxuan was willing to spend money on her, he had limited money. So, she only cheated him of his money but not his body. Otherwise, Su Yiyan felt her scalp go numb just thinking about having such a sister-in-law. This was the first time Huo had heard of this. After all, he had only asked people to keep an eye on Su Yiyan all these years. In his eyes, Su Yuxuan and the others were just relatives who had a good relationship with Su Yiyan. They were worthy of his love for her. What happened later? Su Yiyan pouted and snorted. Later, that woman lied that something happened at home and urgently needed a sum of money. She took the last bit of money from my brother. Then, she sold the luxury goods my brother bought for her and went abroad to study. Huo's eyes flashed. Your brother was broken up? You can say that. That woman didn't break up with my brother. She used the excuse that she had something to do and went out with her family to visit relatives. She unilaterally broke off contact and went missing. If her brother hadn't been unable to contact this woman and was worried that something had happened to her, he wouldn't have found out that this woman had applied to study abroad as early as half a year ago. At that time, she had only been dating Su Yuxuan for 3 months. For almost a year, she had kept this matter a secret. Even though Su Yuxuan vaguely felt that she was hiding something from him and took the initiative to ask, she never thought of confessing. She even deliberately avoided the topic and talked about other things. Now that things had developed to this point, Su Yuxuan finally realized that what he thought was a beautiful love was just a cheap deception. In the eyes of his so-called girlfriend, she was just a moving ATM. Hearing this, Huo's expression was extremely subtle. She really couldn't imagine that her brother-in-law, who had so many tricks up his sleeves and who even Zui Yanbai had to sigh as a smiling tiger, actually had such a brainless and tragic love history. Love really made people lose their intelligence. Since then, my brother hasn't had a girlfriend. He's also very cold to his pursuers. Even when I'm talking about marriage, he's still single. His blank love history was left with a thick and heavy stroke just like that. It was easy to imagine the psychological shadow he had. Although this matter had successfully evolved his brother, a glutinous rice ball, into a super strong version of sesame glutinous rice ball, and at the same time activated the automatic bitch identification function. Since then, he focused on his career and helped his father share a lot of work, allowing him to live a semi-retired life early. Chapter 774. but the damage couldn't be erased. Even if Su Yuxuan appeared to be at ease over the years, just by looking at how he avoided those crazy bees and butterflies like snakes and scorpions, one could tell that this hurdle was definitely not so easy to overcome. Because of this, Cheng Xiuqin was more nervous and cautious about his marriage than Su Yiyan, fearing that he would accidentally touch a mine again. Hu Chenhuan seemed to have sensed something. So, you wanted to introduce Xiaoqi to your brother before? Yes, at least I know her background. I still trust Xiaoqi's character, and their personalities are very compatible. It was a pity that someone came out of nowhere. However, Su Yiyan now felt that his one-sided matchmaking might not be a good thing for the two of them. Forget it, everyone had their own fate. Since Ling Xiaoqi wasn't her brother's fate, then her brother's fate must be with an unknown woman. He couldn't force it. That's why I just said that my brother is different. That woman's harm to him is far greater than imagined. At this time, if no one helps to give him a push, I don't know when he can muster up the courage to find his other half. Su Yiyan paused and sighed. Of course, in addition, I also want to find something for my mother to do. Find something to do. Hu Chenhuan picked up the towel on the side and helped Su Yiyan dry his feet. Don't you think you're all too nervous? Su Yiyan reached out and held Hu Chenhuan's cheek, so that he could only look up at him and look at him. Whether it's mom or you, you've been too nervous during this period of time. This is not good. Although he knew that they were worried that he would suffer during childbirth, emotions could easily affect the people around him. Even if this wasn't their original intention, some things couldn't be controlled just because they wanted to. Sorry. Hu Chenhuan held Su Yiyan's hand. He thought that he had concealed it well, but he didn't expect that Su Yiyan had always known. There's no need to apologize to me. I know what you're worried about. Su Yiyan pressed Hu Chenhuan's head against his stomach so that he could hear the child's strong heartbeat. It'll be fine. The baby and I will be fine. Hu Chenhuan's eyes flashed with an unfathomable light, but her hands did not relax in the slightest. Yes. The little guy was born a few days earlier than the expected date of delivery. It was a stormy night, and Su Yiyan suddenly gave birth ahead of time, causing everyone in the family Hua to be a little flustered. After realizing that something was wrong, Hu Chenhuan immediately carried Su Yiyan and rushed to the hospital. For the sake of taking care of Su Yiyan, Cheng Xiuqin had been living next door to the two of them. When she heard the noise, she woke up from her sleep. She didn't have time to pack anything before she got into the car with her daughter and son-in-law. Su Yiyan could feel her stomach twitching. At first it was fine, but later on the pain became more and more intense. She subconsciously held Hu Chenhuan's hand tightly. After a few rounds, a layer of sweat appeared on their intertwined hands. After enduring another bout of pain, Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief. She turned to look at the person beside her and was amused. What's wrong with you? Your face is paler than mine. If I didn't know better, I might think that you're the one giving birth instead of me. Hu Chenhuan's lips trembled, but she didn't say anything in the end. She just hugged Su Yiyan tighter as if this could relieve the pain. She held her tightly in her hands and no one could take her away. Chapter 775. The family Hua mansion was actually not far from the nearest hospital. Usually it would take about 10 to 20 minutes to get there. However, because of the heavy rain, it took more than 10 minutes to get there. It took more than half an hour. As soon as they entered the hospital, Su Yiyan was pushed away. Hu Chenhuan wanted to follow them, but he was stopped by the nurse and Cheng Xiuqin. It's useless for you to follow them. Wait here patiently. Cheng Xiuqin looked at his son-in-law in front of him, whose face was even paler than his own daughter's. At the same time, he could not help but sigh helplessly. The light above the delivery room was like a heavy hammer hanging over their heads. Their hearts were in their mouths and their minds were blank. When Su Yuxuan and his son received the news, they rushed to the hospital as fast as they could and waited with Cheng Xiuqin and Cheng Xiuqin. Uncle Zhang also came by to deliver some clean clothes and supper. Unfortunately, no one was in the mood to eat at this time. They waited outside for 3 to 4 hours. When the sky was dimly lit, the closed door finally opened. Hu Chenhuan rushed over immediately, looking nervous and expectant. The pregnant woman gave birth to a baby boy. Both mother and child are safe. That's great. Thank God, thank God. Cheng Xiuqin breathed a sigh of relief and hurried forward, wanting to see his newborn grandson. The little guy had just been born. Just like little porridge, his little face was red, his eyes could not open, and his tender little hands looked very fragile. Hu Chenhuan only glanced at the baby to make sure he was safe. Then she turned her attention back to Su Yiyan in the delivery room. Because it was a natural birth, Su Yiyan was still very awake when she was pushed out, although she was very tired. Hua Chenhuan saw the car being pushed out and immediately went to greet it. Su Yiyan saw him and could not help but laugh. Have you seen the baby? Yes. Hua Chenhuan's eyes were slightly red. He looks very much like me. Nonsense, a baby boy should look like his mother. When Hua Chenhuan heard her words, a hint of a smile appeared in his eyes. He unconditionally corrected himself and said, Yes, I was wrong. The baby is more like you. Only then was Su Yiyan satisfied. His eyelids began to fight. Hua Chenhuan's heart trembled. Before she had time to think, the words had already left her mouth. Yin. Su Yiyan looked at him in confusion. Hua Chenhuan leaned over and kissed her sweaty forehead. Thank you for bringing me such a special gift. Su Yiyan's mind was still a little slow. He was stunned for a few seconds before his eyebrows relaxed. He laughed and scolded, Idiot. Su Yiyan was so tired that she fell asleep as soon as she was pushed into the ward. Hua Chenhuan sat next to her and waited for her to fall asleep. Only then did she remember to tell her family about the good news. Su Yiyan's father went to inform the Cheng family and Su Yiyan's aunt. Hua Chenhuan only called Uncle Zhang and Zheng Qianyang to tell them. The old man, who had been in the family Hua for most of his life, immediately cried tears of joy when he heard that Su Yiyan had successfully given birth to a baby boy. After hanging up the phone, he immediately told Zheng Qianyang about the news. Of course, he received a surprise from his uncle today. After Hua Chenhuan told his family about the good news, he suddenly remembered a popular way to show off children on the internet. He immediately took a few photos of his son and sent them to Yuzian and the others. The three of them had just woken up and were getting ready to go to work after washing up. They were a little confused when they suddenly received these photos. Chapter 776. Zui Yanbai quickly understood the meaning of Hua Chenhuan's picture, and her eyes lit up. Yu Zian and Gu Xiaoyang's reaction was a little slow. They almost thought that Hua Chenhuan's account had been hacked. For this reason, the two of them deliberately communicated in the small group chat. What's going on? Young master suddenly sent me a few pictures. Did you guys receive them? You're talking about that bright red picture of a woman? Day. I received them too. Why did young master suddenly send these pictures? Was his account hacked? It's possible. Zui Yanbai. In fact, the two of them couldn't be blamed for thinking this way. After all, these kinds of revealing pictures could easily make people think of those pornographic pictures that hackers like to send. As a result, the two of them were distracted and didn't think in that direction at all. Zui Yanbai was speechless for a moment and decided to remind these two fools. Those are children's feet. Children's feet? Gu Xiaoyang's expression changed slightly. He had already guessed it. Yu Zian still asked foolishly, What's wrong with children's feet? Gu Xiaoyang was disappointed. What's wrong with them? Of course, it means that a new baby is born. A new baby is born? Yu Zian suddenly realized. You mean, the crown prince is born? Gu Xiaoyang, Zui Yanbai. What kind of description was that? But after thinking about it carefully, it didn't seem wrong. Ahem, you can say that. Oh my god. Didn't they say that it would take another week? Why is it so early? Didn't young madam's aunt give birth a few days earlier? It's just an estimate, so it's not necessarily accurate. So, is young master showing off the baby to us? Kind of. Then how should we react? Zui Yanbai thought for a while and gave a reasonable suggestion. Send a red packet. Red packet. 2-inch young master's baby is something worth celebrating. Isn't it normal to send a red packet to the crown prince to celebrate? Gu Xiaoyang thought about it and found that it did make sense. Then how much should we send? Therefore, the three of them gathered together and discussed for a long time. In the end, they decided to send us 666 to Hua Chenhuan to make up for it. When Su Yiyan woke up, she saw Hua Chenhuan sitting on the edge of the bed and looking at his phone. As soon as she moved, Hua Chenhuan's attention immediately moved away from the phone. He leaned in front of her and said with concern, You're awake? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Su Yiyan shook her head. Looking at the dark circles under Hua Chenhuan's eyes, she felt distressed. You didn't sleep all night? Hua Chenhuan wrapped his hands around Su Yiyan's. He lowered his head and kissed the back of her hand. I can't sleep, he said hoarsely. At first he was worried. Later on he was still worried. However, he felt more heartache and excitement. Su Yiyan reached out and touched his face. Then, she thought of the baby she had given birth to with great difficulty. Where's the baby? Just now, Mom brought him over and looked at him for a while. He's hungry now, so she took him to breastfeed him. Su Yiyan was a little disappointed when she heard that. She was too tired at that time. She only took a quick look at the baby when he was wrapped up. Strictly speaking, she didn't take a good look at the baby. Hua Chenhuan saw her sadness and comforted her. Mom will bring him back for you to see when she's done feeding him. I just looked at him carefully. The baby's eyes and mouth are like yours and his nose is like mine. Su Yiyan's eyes lit up, and she instantly became energetic. Really? Chapter 777. When the little guy was carried out of the operating room, he couldn't even open his eyes. After a few hours of adapting outside, he slowly opened his big black grape-like eyes. Hua Chenhuan fell in love with the pair of big eyes that resembled Su Yiyan's at first glance. He felt that his child really took after the two of them and was pleasing to the eye. Of course it's true. Hua Chenhuan reached out and tapped Su Yiyan's nose. He said meaningfully, "Who else can our child take after if he doesn't take after us?" Su Yiyan's little face blushed slightly. She also remembered the words she argued with Hua Chenhuan when she was just delivered. She was a little embarrassed and decisively changed the topic. She coughed softly and said, "Where are my father and brother?" "They didn't sleep the whole night. I asked them to go back and rest first." "They didn't sleep the whole night. Didn't you also not sleep the whole night?" "I'm young. It's not a problem." Su Yiyan. Although it was the truth, why did it sound like you were showing off when you said it? If her father and brother heard this, who knew how they would deal with him? Especially her brother. Strictly speaking, he was only a few years older than him. If he was suddenly implicated like this, he would definitely gnash his teeth in hatred. "Oh right, my grandfather and Uncle Zhang, Uncle and the others. Dad has already informed Grandpa. I also called home to tell them. Uncle Zhang is probably busy preparing delicious food for you and the baby." Su Yiyan suddenly remembered what Hua Chenhuan was doing when she woke up. "You were sending them a message just now?" "Xiao Yang and the others sent me a red packet." "Red packet?" Su Yiyan was a little surprised. Generally speaking, shouldn't it be Hua Chenhuan, the boss, who sent them red packets? Hua Chenhuan didn't say anything. Instead, he turned the screen to Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan's gaze was instantly attracted by the little foot at the top. "Is this the baby's foot?" "Yes, it was taken just now." Su Yiyan's gaze softened in an instant, and he sighed from the bottom of his heart. So cute. Then she saw the blessings and red packets at the bottom of the page and burst into laughter. "It's not easy for them to make money." Hua Chenhuan looked up at her and said sadly, "It's not easy for your husband to make money. But you have me to support you." Hua Chenhuan's eyes lit up. She was instantly convinced. She turned around and gave the three of them a red packet with an additional 6. After the three of them received the red packets, they immediately replied, "Thank you, boss." In his heart, however, he was secretly regretting it. If he had known earlier, he would not have been so stingy. He should have sent an extra 6. However, their remorse was soon soothed. Hua Chenhuan sent another message, asking them to give the employees a bonus this month. The three of them immediately understood what their boss was implying. They quickly sent the pictures that Hua Chenhuan had sent them to the group, along with the accompanying text. "The birth of the crown prince is a cause for celebration. Everyone's bonus this month will be doubled." As soon as this message was sent, everyone in the group exploded. The lady at the front desk. The pillar of the publicity department. The flower of the technical department. After a long row of exclamation marks appeared on the screen, someone finally asked in a trembling voice, "The head of the publicity department, the crown prince? Is it what I think it means? You is not a fish, what do you think it means? If it's not what you think it means but what everyone thinks it means, then it means what you think it means. Xiao Yang Ruhua. Zua is not Zua." Chapter 778. Xiao Yang Ruhua, no nesting dolls. Speak human language or I'll kick you out right now. You is not a fish, aggrieved. You is not a fish, alright that's right. It's exactly what you think it means. Madam gave birth last night, and the little prince was born early. The dragon is overjoyed and everyone is celebrating. I'll give you guys a raise. As soon as he said this, the group exploded again. Front desk lady, congratulations madam for giving birth to little boss in advance. Congratulations to boss for having a little prince. Pillar of the publicity department, So that picture was of the little prince's little Giorgio. No wonder it looked so hot and cute. Flower of the technical department? What a chubby little Giorgio. It's the cutest. I really want to take a bite. Front desk lady, seconded. Children's Giorgio are so cute every time I see it. It's so cute that a single old dog like me can't help but want to steal a child every day. Front desk lady, the two weird aunties upstairs, your thoughts are very dangerous. You dare to bite the little prince's foot and steal Big Boss's child. I respect you guys as real men. Front desk lady, F***CK, you're real men. How dare you call me a weird auntie? Are you itching for a beating? Big bro from the technical department. Little prince, this little Giorgio, the soles of his feet are round and smooth like white jade, sparkling and translucent. His toes are smooth and childish like pearls. Everyone in the group. Amazing. They only knew that the technical department was good at coding, but they didn't expect them to be so good at bootlicking. The cute people in the publicity department and public relations department suddenly felt that their jobs were facing an unprecedented threat. They could lose their jobs at any time. They immediately sat up straight and rubbed their palms together. They started to bootlick at the pictures taken by Huan. They couldn't wait to blow those two chubby little Giorgio up into the sky. By the time Yuzian and the others packed up and left, the group was already full of bootlicking. Some people even closed their eyes and started to boast that their freshly minted little prince was a god who had descended to the mortal world. Yuzian and the others. As expected of you guys. However, the most effective way to please parents was to praise their children. Huan looked at the screen full of praises for their little prince and smiled slightly. She turned the screen back to Su Yiyan, looking like she was asking for credit. At first, Su Yiyan didn't realize what he was trying to do. However, when he saw the rainbow farts in the group and the colorful notice in the group announcement, he immediately understood the cause and effect. At that moment he didn't know whether to be angry or amused. So, you spent money to buy a bunch of praises for our Zai Zai? This wastrel. Did he ever consider the cost of the baby's milk powder? Huan raised her chin and said confidently, aren't they telling the truth? His and Su Yiyan's children were the most beautiful and intelligent children in the world. From a silly father whose baby filter was a few meters thick. Su Yiyan choked. She really couldn't refute him. In her eyes, no matter how other people's children were, her own was definitely the best. You. Su Yiyan glared at him. Our baby is already born. Have you prepared the money for his milk powder? Huan laughed. I prepared it a long time ago. Other than the money for milk powder, there's also money for diapers, clothes, toys, and anything else you can think of. Su Yiyan was satisfied and rewarded him with a look of appreciation. Chapter 779. Although she complained, Su Yiyan also understood Huan's eagerness to show off her baby. After all, she was also preparing to show off her baby. Su Yiyan's desire to flaunt her baby began to stir as she looked at the group chat that was still spammed with sincere flattery. Do you think I should give them some benefits? A few minutes ago, she was still complaining about a certain someone's prodigal behavior. How long had it been since she caught up with her husband's pace and began to show off her baby happily? Huan held back his laughter and reached out to stroke her hair. He coaxed her gently, wait until the baby is a month old. At that time, find a big place and invite all the employees in your shop over. Let them have a good meal. I guarantee that they will be happier than any other benefits. Su Yiyan was persuaded. Thinking that she could personally hold the baby in a month's time and show off in front of so many people, she was a little moved. After the two of them talked for a while, Qing Xiuqin came over with the little guy who had eaten and drunk to his heart's content. Yin, you're awake. Come and see our baby. He just drank milk and will fall asleep in a while. Qing Xiuqin said as he put the little guy beside Su Yiyan's pillow. Su Yiyan looked at the little baby and felt that her heart was about to melt. She carefully touched his little hand and greeted him cheerfully. Baby, I'm mommy. The little guy looked much bigger than when little Porridge was born. His big black eyes rolled around without focus. It was unknown if he could see the faces of the people around him clearly. After drinking milk, the little guy's mouth still squirmed from time to time, as if he was savoring the aftertaste. His big eyes were wide open and he began to fight. He trembled and closed his eyes, then suddenly opened them again. After that, he slowly closed them again and opened them again. After a few times, the little guy finally fell asleep. His fleshy little face slightly tilted in the direction of his small hands. His small fists, which were not as big as a custard bun, would occasionally loosen slightly, but they would quickly clench tightly. It was obviously a simple and monotonous action, but Su Yiyan felt that she could concentrate on watching it for an entire day. Are you asleep? Cheng Xiuqin lowered his voice and asked. Yes. Su Yiyan couldn't help but reach out and touch the child's little face. The soft and smooth touch of her fingertips made her heart tremble. She was afraid that she would accidentally hurt him if she used too much strength. The baby seems to be bigger than Kanji. Isn't it bigger? Cheng Xiuqin smiled and said, when the porridge was born it was only about 6 kilograms. Our little guy is almost 8 kilograms. It's more than half a kilogram heavier. How can it not be bigger? 8 caddies? That's quite big. When Cheng Xiuqin heard his daughter's soft sigh, he felt a little distressed. He sighed and said, no wonder you've been in labor for so long. The baby is too big. You'll have to suffer more when you give birth. Huo Chenhuan, who had been standing by the bed without uttering a word, suddenly looked at the little guy. Too big and had to suffer more when he gave birth. TSK, it seemed that she had to control this little brat's diet in the future. He only knew how to steal his mother's nutrients when he was in her womb. Eating so stupidly, he must be someone who didn't know how to control his appetite. She had to keep a close eye on him to prevent him from eating too much. In less than half a day, the little prince who had turned the little baby into a little brat's family Hua was speechless. Dad, you're really a logical genius. Chapter 780. The little guy, who didn't know that because he was too heavy when he was born, his status in the family had rapidly declined. He was keenly aware of a trace of danger. He couldn't help but shiver in his sleep and kick his little brother hard. Although Uncle Zhang didn't stay with Huo Chenhuan and the others to wait for the baby to be born, he didn't sleep much the whole night. When he received a call from Huo Chenhuan at dawn in the morning, Uncle Zhang was happy and immediately asked the servants to stew a lot of light soup and water. It was sent to the two of them at 8 or 9 o'clock. Huo Chenhuan was busy feeding Su Yiyan porridge. Uncle Zhang and Zheng Qianyang surrounded the little guy in the crib and whispered to each other. The little master's eyes and mouth are like young madam's. His nose is like Chenhuan's, but his face shape is a bit like brother-in-law's. The two of them gathered together and chattered about the little guy's appearance. Su Yiyan listened on the side and couldn't help laughing. Is what they said true? The baby looks a bit like your father? Huo Chenhuan was also a little confused and said uncertainly, maybe. Except for the baby's eyes and Su Yiyan's, the nose and mouth were all like Cheng Xiuqin's. As for the face shape, the couple, who were inexplicably blind to the child's appearance, stared at each other for a long time and finally gave up exploring this aspect. Although the two adults could keep their voices down, the sleeping little guy moved his hands and feet. His little mouth pouted and he was about to cry. Zheng Qianyang, who was old and single, was shocked. He took a step back reflexively and exclaimed, old Zhang, he's going to cry, he's going to cry. It was the first time that Su Yiyan saw Zheng Qianyang so flustered. She couldn't help but laugh. Zheng Qianyang also realized that his reaction was a little too big and looked embarrassed. He had never been able to do anything with this kind of soft little fellow. Even Huo Chenhuan had waited until he could crawl and walk before she dared to carry him. Uncle Zhang had helped Mrs. Huo take care of Huo Chenhuan when she was a baby. When he saw that the baby was about to cry, he immediately picked her up from the crib and coaxed her skillfully. The little fellow sobbed a few times and was really coaxed by him. He opened his big eyes that were washed by tears and looked around curiously at everything. The people in the ward were surprised to see this. I didn't expect Uncle Zhang to have the ability to raise children. When Uncle Zhang heard Su Yiyan's words, he immediately puffed up his chest proudly and said with a faint smile, when Madam gave birth to young master, her body wasn't very good. During that time, Sir was basically accompanying Madam. Young master is taken care of by me and another retired maid. Su Yiyan and Huo Chenhuan looked at each other. We'll have to trouble you then. Uncle Zhang's face lit up. Don't worry, young madam. I'll definitely take good care of young master. Zheng Qianyang also felt a little envious when he saw Uncle Zhang carrying the baby. However, when he saw the little fellow's tender appearance, he controlled his dangerous thoughts and coughed lightly. Has he been named? Yes. His full name is Huo Xingyan, and his nickname is Little Star. Yinyan's grandfather named him. Zheng Qianyang looked regretful. If it was Su Yiyan's parents, he could still fight for it. However, Su Yiyan's grandfather was older than him, so he couldn't win. Huo Chenhuan saw the change in Zheng Qianyang's expression and was once again grateful for her foresight. Father Su had just asked this question in the morning. Everyone wanted to name their child, but it wasn't appropriate for anyone to do so. Only old Master Cheng, who was older, could suppress them. Chapter 781. Hua Chenhuan had perfectly resolved a family dispute that might have been caused by the naming of the baby. Su Yiyan's baby was born naturally and recovered faster than a C-section. Logically speaking, she didn't need to stay in the hospital for too long. After staying in the hospital for about 5 days, Su Yiyan brought the baby home. Hua Chenhuan had been staying in the hospital to accompany his wife and child for the past few days. Uncle Zhang, on the other hand, had taken care of everything after returning home. He wanted to ensure that Su Yiyan and the baby could recuperate without any worries. The most obvious change was Su Yiyan's postnatal confinement menu. Steamed eggs with minced meat, crucian carp tofu soup, peanut pork trotter soup, peanut rice porridge, small wontons, celery and pork slices. Su Yiyan's eyelids twitched when she saw the dishes on the table. She suddenly had an ominous premonition. She could understand the other dishes, but she remembered that she had never taught the chefs at home to make the crucian carp tofu soup, peanut pork trotter soup and peanut rice porridge. How did they? These dishes were made by our chefs. Uncle Zhang smiled and said, "Yes, young madam, you are in urgent need of all kinds of nutrients. These dishes were ordered by the chefs and nutritionists. In order to help you recuperate better, we even contacted your aunt, young madam." Su Yiyan widened her eyes in surprise. "When? Before you gave birth? Why didn't I know?" "Young madam, you were already having a hard time when you were pregnant. We all agreed that there was no need to bother you with such a small matter." "We?" "Everyone in the family, including young master. Su Yiyan. So I'm the only one who didn't know." Uncle Zhang didn't notice Su Yiyan's sadness and continued with a smile. "These dishes were learned from the chefs at young madam's aunt's place. It's said that eating them now is effective." A female chef at the side very tactfully took over the conversation. "Urge milk." Su Yiyan, Hua Chenhuan. A suffocating silence spread over the table until the little fellow at the side felt that he was being ignored and cried out. Su Yiyan felt as if she had just woken up from a dream. The blush on her face instantly spread from her cheeks to her neck. Hua Chenhuan coughed softly and shot a warning glance at Uncle Zhang, indicating that he should quit while he was ahead. Cheng Xiuqin immediately walked to the stroller and picked up the baby. "Baby, are you hungry? Come, Grandma will take you to drink milk." Before he left, he turned around to look at Su Yiyan and gave him a critical blow. "They're right. We do need to push them a little. When I gave birth to you, I couldn't drink even if I wanted to. You should drink more." "Mom, you really are my biological mother." The temperature on Su Yiyan's face, which had finally cooled down, rose again. Her head hung low as if she was autistic. Hua Chenhuan saw her embarrassment and said in a clear voice, "You all go ahead. I'll be here." Uncle Zhang looked at one person and then the other. He tactfully asked the others to leave, leaving the two of them alone. After they left, Su Yiyan's expression finally improved. Just as she was thinking about how to ignore those things, Hua Chenhuan couldn't help but say, "Uncle Zhang and the others have good intentions. Don't waste it. It's some." After she finished speaking, a big bowl of soup was pushed in front of Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan looked at it carefully. It was the bowl of crucian carp tofu soup that was originally placed the furthest away from her. "Su Yiyan, can I hit you?" Chapter 782. Su Yiyan spent her first meal back home in shame and indignation. She didn't even know what to eat. However, someone didn't know what to do. As soon as they finished eating, he threw his son to the child's grandmother and rushed into the bedroom excitedly with Su Yiyan. At that time, Su Yiyan didn't realize that there was a wolf sitting next to her. She pinched her soft belly and was worried. The little guy was out, but her belly didn't recover so quickly. Thinking about her thin waist before she was pregnant with the little guy, and then looking at the little chubby belly now, Su Yiyan was very resentful. "Why are you sighing? Who made you unhappy? Who else could it be other than you?" Su Yiyan glared at Hua Chenhuan angrily. It was this guy who forced her to drink several bowls of soup just now, causing her belly to be full of water now. Hua Chenhuan knew what she was angry about. Without thinking, he said, "Well, I was wrong. Don't be angry. It's not good for your health." Su Yiyan felt like she had punched cotton. Not only did she not calm down, but she was even more depressed. "You're always like this. You apologize whenever you do something wrong. Don't you dare next time." Huo Chenhuan touched his nose a little guiltily and said embarrassedly, "This time I really don't dare." Su Yiyan stared at him suspiciously. Obviously she didn't believe his words. Seeing this, Huo Chenhuan had to try his best to prove his feelings. He said sincerely, "Really, I won't force you to do anything you don't like in the future. You said so before. Didn't you regret it today? I'm just curious." Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. Curious about what? Curious about whether those soups are really useful. Su Yiyan was stunned for a few seconds before she realized what he meant. The expression on her face suddenly froze. She looked at him in disbelief. You, I didn't expect you to have such a husband. I was wrong about you." After Huo Chenhuan finished speaking, she seemed to realize that she was asking for a beating. She hurriedly tried to salvage the situation by saying, "I was thinking too much. If you don't have it, then don't have it. Anyway, our baby doesn't lack the money for milk powder." It would have been better if Huo Chenhuan hadn't said anything. Once he did, Su Yiyan's face turned even redder. She glared at him angrily and turned her back completely, refusing to talk to him. Realizing that she had caused trouble again, Huo Chenhuan hurriedly continued to apologize and coax her. After coaxing for a long time, Su Yiyan suddenly asked, "Do I look ugly like this?" She had just given birth not long ago. Her belly was still very obvious and her face was still round. Her looks seemed to have been pulled down quite a bit. Of course, only Su Yiyan thought so. Huo Chenhuan couldn't keep up with his wife's thoughts, but he still said without thinking, "No, in my eyes, you will always be the most beautiful." In his opinion, Su Yiyan was also good-looking before, but she was a little too thin. She looked as if she would be blown away by a little wind. Now she was just right. She was a little meaty, not too fat or too thin. She was soft when he held her, and he couldn't bear to put her down. "If you have time to think about nonsense, why don't you do something serious?" Su Yiyan's whole body trembled. She suddenly had an ominous premonition. "Something serious? What is it? You drank so much soup last night? I don't know if it's useful. Let me check for you." "What?" Before Su Yiyan had time to protest, her mouth had been blocked by Huo Chenhuan. After that, she didn't have a chance to protest. Chapter 783. Su Yiyan had just given birth not long ago, so Huo Chenhuan naturally couldn't do anything to her. Even so, the next morning Huo Chenhuan was kicked out of the door by Su Yiyan, and he was banned from the bedroom for a month on the spot. Huo Chenhuan, who was kicked out of the house the next day. He regretted it very much, very much. During Su Yiyan's 1-month confinement period at home, she had more to do than when she was pregnant. Cheng Xiuqin reminded her several times, emphasizing that a woman must recuperate well during her confinement period after giving birth. Otherwise, it would be easy to leave a lasting illness. Huo Chenhuan attached great importance to this matter. After hearing Cheng Xiuqin's words, he was even more nervous and didn't let Su Yiyan do any heavy work. As a result, in the following month, Su Yiyan ate and drank every day, but the fat on her stomach didn't go down at all. During this period, Su Yiyan also received a lot of congratulations from her family, friends and company employees. After Ling Xiaoqi learned that Su Yiyan had given birth, she went to the hospital to visit her once. Now that she heard that she had nothing to do at home and was very bored, and the two of them lived close to each other, she came to accompany her. Little star, I'm your Auntie Xiaoqi. Call me auntie. Su Yiyan looked at Ling Xiaoqi, who was standing beside the stroller and playing with her baby for a long time. Even if she didn't get any response, she couldn't bear to leave. She felt helpless and amused. He's only been born for less than a month. How can he speak so early? Moreover, my baby doesn't even know how to call his parents. How can he call you auntie first? Ling Xiaoqi turned to look at Su Yiyan and said with some pride, "That's not necessarily true. Children are very smart. If you don't teach him to call you early, he might really call me auntie first in the future." Su Yiyan laughed. "You like my baby so much? Who wouldn't like such a soft cub? Especially since this little cub was especially well behaved. It didn't cry or make a fuss. If you teased it for a long time, it would suddenly smile at you. That smile would make you go soft." Su Yiyan's eyes flashed and he said with a smile, "Since you like it so much, I'll allow you to have a daughter in 4 years. When that time comes, our Zai will give priority to your family." Ling Xiaoqi. "Thank you so much. You're talking as if your son is choosing a concubine. Why must it be within 4 years? Because after 4 years, my baby will be suspected of being an old cow eating young grass. Ling Xiaoqi, should I praise you for having some self-awareness? While the two of them were busy bickering, a figure suddenly walked over with several plates of fruits and pastries in his hands. After talking for so long, you must be hungry, right? Didn't you say you wanted to eat strawberries? They were delivered today. I just tasted one. It's very sweet and not sour. You should eat more. Ling Xiaoqi sat opposite the two of them. Listening to Huo Qinhuan's fawning coaxing, she almost couldn't help but burp. This public display of affection really didn't give a single dog any way to survive. Looking at the exquisite pastries and fruits placed in front of her, she suddenly didn't know what to eat. Sob, 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 she felt that she was being abused so badly. Su Yiyan wasn't so easily bought over by these plates of fruits and pastries. A certain someone's ban hadn't been lifted yet. Any show of goodwill at this time would be regarded as impure motives. I'll leave it. I'll eat it later. Su Yiyan paused and said, I have something to say to Xiaoqi. It's not convenient for you to stay here. Go back to work early. Especially cold, especially ruthless, especially arrogant. Chapter 784. When Huo Qinhuan heard what she said, a hurt look flashed across her face. She nodded like a little wife, and before she left, she didn't forget to remind her, don't be angry, I'll leave now. Remember to eat, it's good for your body. Not only Su Yiyan but even Ling Xiaoqi, an outsider, couldn't help but feel pity for that pitiful look. Did you quarrel with your husband? Why do I feel like your man is being wronged and trying to get on your good side? As if waking up from a dream, Su Yiyan secretly cursed a certain someone for being so scheming. She actually deliberately acted pitiful in front of Ling Xiaoqi to force her to give in. I worked so hard to give birth to a chubby baby for him. Shouldn't he be trying to get on my good side? I just asked him to bring me food and he's being wronged? I used to cook for him every day. So, you're being spoiled because of the baby? When Ling Xiaoqi heard this, her face was full of indescribable emotions. She stared at Su Yiyan as if to say, I didn't expect you to be such a person. Su Yiyan, who was immediately put in the black pot. That trash of a man set me up. It's not that I want to say this, but there's a limit to acting spoiled and being unreasonable. Data shows that many married men cheat on their wives when they're pregnant or shortly after their wives give birth. On one hand, their wives' pregnancy can't satisfy their physical needs. On the other hand, their wives are emotional during pregnancy. In layman's terms, they're more pretentious. Some men are unhappy at home, and it's especially easy for other little white flowers to take advantage of the situation. Once they're together, it's impossible to stop them. Su Yiyan? According to what you're saying, am I acting spoiled now? Or am I being unreasonable? Of course, I'm not saying that it's not good. What's wrong with a wife being a little spoiled after 10 months of pregnancy? Those who cheat during pregnancy are all scumbags. I'm just reminding you not to torment others too much. Look at your man. He doesn't even mind that you're old after giving birth. He doesn't go to his big company and serves you at home every day like you're his ancestor. You're still so noisy. I can't stand it anymore. How many benefits did he give you to make you betray him so quickly? You've changed, you're no longer the little angel who always put me in charge. What benefits can he give me? I'm on the side of reason, not family. Strictly speaking, it's for your own good. If I really drive her away, won't you come crying to me? Su Yiyan cried, you dare to raise such a vicious flag? I suspect that you're a spy sent by my opponent to curse me. Also, what do you mean by old and yellow? Are you saying that I'm ugly now? Ling Xiaoqi was stunned. She looked at Su Yiyan from head to toe and said sincerely and tactfully, no, you're now exuding the radiance of motherly love. You're so shiny, so bright. Su Yiyan? What the F***ck is this motherly love radiance? Su Yiyan was full of ambition, but Ling Xiaoqi's words shattered it into pieces. She was in a trance. When Huo Qinhuan came down from upstairs, Ling Xiaoqi had already left. Yuan was wearing its little apron and walking around, busily making milk for the baby. This care-type robot was only responsible for cleaning the house and trimming the garden since it entered the house. It was really a waste of its talents. Now that there was a baby in the house, its series of functions could finally be put to good use. These few days, it was so busy that it no longer had to worry about its skills rusting due to idleness. Chapter 785. Hua Chenhuan walked down again and found that Su Yiyan was curled up into a small ball on the sofa alone. If he didn't look carefully, he really couldn't find her. Hua Chenhuan was stunned for a moment, thinking that something had happened to her. He hurriedly went downstairs and ran to her. He reached out and touched her forehead. "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" Su Yiyan was also stunned when she saw him suddenly rushing over. She immediately pouted and didn't care that they were still in a cold war. She said aggrievedly, "Xiaoqi said that I am now exuding the radiance of motherly love. Does she mean that I am old?" "Of course not," Hua Chenhuan retorted without thinking. At the same time, he felt that his wife's mood was a little strange recently, so he couldn't help but worry. However, he temporarily suppressed this worry and coaxed with a faint smile. "She means that you have become more mature after giving birth. Mature men are very charming, and so are mature women. I think you are more beautiful and charming now than before. If possible, I want to take this opportunity to hide you at home and never show you to other men outside." Hua Chenhuan's coaxing made Su Yiyan's face look a little better, but she still confirmed again, "Really?" "Of course it's true." Hua Chenhuan leaned over and kissed Su Yiyan's forehead. He said meaningfully, "Instead of spending time and energy thinking about these groundless things, why don't you think about whether you can move me out of the guest room tonight?" "Move me out?" Su Yiyan was held in Hua Chenhuan's arms and snorted like a little piglet. "Where do you want to move me?" "Of course, back to our bedroom." "In your dreams." It was fine if Hua Chenhuan didn't mention this. As soon as he mentioned this, Su Yiyan remembered that someone had pretended to be pitiful in front of Ling Xiaoqi before. "Say, did you do it on purpose just now?" "On purpose what?" "Deliberately pretended to be pitiful in front of Xiaoqi and let her think that I bullied you." "You're accusing me wrongly. I just hope that she can help me say a good word and beg for your forgiveness." Hua Chenhuan couldn't help but kiss her. "Moreover, as long as you want, I can serve you tea like today every day as long as you can calm down." Su Yiyan was not really angry that she drove Hua Chenhuan to sleep in the guest room. "But it's a month." Hua Chenhuan stared at her with puppy eyes. His expression was very similar to the pitiful look of a hungry puppy asking for milk. "Can't you make an exception? Since you bullied me that night, I should have let you sleep in the guest room for a few days. Let's see if you still dare to do it in the future." When Hua Chenhuan saw how resolute Su Yiyan was, she knew that there was no turning back. Hence, she did not continue to harp on the matter. Instead, she was calculating in her heart how high the success rate of a sneak attack would be in the following days. Fortunately, Su Yiyan did not have the ability to read minds and did not know what Hua Chenhuan was thinking. Otherwise, she would have to sleep in the guest room for another month. It was not easy to coax Su Yiyan into forgetting about Ling Xiaoqi's words. However, Hua Chenhuan took Su Yiyan's abnormal behavior to heart. The next day, she secretly consulted a private doctor behind Su Yiyan's back. The conclusion she got was that she was suffering from mild postpartum depression. Chapter 786. From your description, your wife does have some symptoms of postpartum depression. However, it should still be in a relatively mild state. The fact that you can discover it so early shows that your relationship with your wife should be very good. This is also a good thing. Early detection and early treatment can control it early. If it is delayed for too long, it may become more serious and difficult to treat. Hua Chenhuan heard his words but did not comfort him at all. She frowned and said, "Her mood has been fluctuating a little recently. Is this also the reason?" "Yes. Many people only know that pregnant women have mood swings during pregnancy and can't control them. In fact, the period after giving birth is the most difficult period for pregnant women. During this period, they are under a lot of psychological pressure, and their emotions are not easy to control. They are also relatively sensitive in all aspects and are very easily affected by external things." Hua Chenhuan was silent for a moment and asked in a deep voice, "External things? What kind of external things cause this situation?" "There are many factors that cause postpartum depression. The more common one is that the relationship between the husband and wife or even the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law is not harmonious. The husband and wife relationship in their family had always been good, and there was no conflict between the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. This reason was obviously not valid. It could also be that the pressure of taking care of the child is too great. The child is noisy, or they don't know how to feed and take care of the child. The child was taken care of by the servants and Yuan at home. He would also help to look after the child when he was free. He rarely let her tire herself out because of this, so this should not be the reason. Another reason is that after pregnancy, many pregnant women's figures will change. The growth of the fetus will make their figures out of shape. Even after the child is born, the changed figure can't be restored to its original state. This will also give them a certain amount of pressure. Huo Qinhuan was stunned. She suddenly remembered that on the first night they returned home, Su Yiyan seemed to have pinched her chubby belly and asked her if it was ugly. Another reason is that she can't fully adapt to the change in identity. Change in identity? Yes. Madam is still young and is in the most beautiful period of a girl's life. Even if she marries and becomes your wife, she will definitely feel the same as before. But now that she has given birth, it means that she has changed from a wife to a child's mother. From this moment onwards, she can no longer prioritize herself over everything and do whatever she wants to do. Let's give a simple example. Before marriage, you and Madam could go out anytime, anywhere, shopping, watching movies, or even traveling. But after having a child, Madam will subconsciously think of the child no matter what she does. Even if she goes out shopping or watching movies, she will think about the child at home. Did you eat and sleep properly? Did you cry? And traveling is almost impossible in a short period of time. Such a sudden change in identity will bring a certain psychological impact to Madam, and it will also have a certain psychological impact on her. If it were not for the doctor's analysis, Huo Qinhuan would never have thought that Su Yiyan's reaction to Ling Xiaoqi's casual remark was so intense, that there were so many twists and turns hidden behind it. Chapter 787. The doctor gave a lot of suggestions, and Huo Qinhuan carefully noted them down one by one. Since then, Su Yiyan felt that Huo Qinhuan had changed. It was not that she had changed for the better, but that she had become more clingy. Other than the necessary meetings and urgent company matters, Huo Qinhuan basically stayed at home and tried to find food for her to eat. From time to time, she would prepare some surprises to cheer her up. In addition, Huo Qinhuan also called Ling Xiaoqi over to spend more time with Su Yiyan. After Ling Xiaoqi found out about Su Yiyan's postpartum depression, she also realized that her previous banter with her was inappropriate. For this reason, Ling Xiaoqi blamed herself. Fortunately, Huo Qinhuan did not blame her. She only asked her to spend more time with Su Yiyan when she was free and talk to her about the outside world to relieve her boredom. Ling Xiaoqi naturally agreed. With the efforts of the two, Su Yiyan's situation gradually improved. Even Qing Xiuqin, who was passionate about raising his grandson, did not realize that his daughter had a short period of depression after giving birth. In addition to taking care of Su Yiyan meticulously, Huo Qinhuan also wanted to find something to divert her attention. However, she had not found the right opportunity. However, things soon came knocking on her door. As the baby's 1-month-old birthday approached, there was good news from the research institute. The medicinal seeds that Su Yiyan had previously given to the research institute, such as lotus seeds, wolfberries, Chinese motherwort, red dates, and other medicinal herbs that had a relatively short planting cycle, had been harvested and could officially be sold on the shelves. This could be said to be a great benefit for the loyal viewers who had been waiting in line for more than a year and had yet to make a reservation. As soon as the Research Institute made the announcement, the viewers in Su Yiyan's live broadcast room spontaneously acted as the tap water. All kinds of retweets, comments, and likes came like a dragon. In a short while it was pushed to the top of the trending list, letting many people know about it. Originally, the development of this matter was quite joyous. However, at this time, a few verified accounts suddenly appeared and criticized this was just a false marketing to deceive the world. The so-called ancient Earth's medicinal herbs did not exist at all. It was a virtual thing. There were even a few people who were particularly aloof, hinting that the Research Institute had deliberately created an internet celebrity to deceive the masses in order to apply for research funding from the higher-ups. For the sake of his own interests, he had completely thrown the lives and health of everyone to the back of his mind. It was truly despicable. Where did these old farts pop out from? Also, where did this stupid medical association come from? Considering that his younger sister had just given birth, Su Yuxuan, who had successfully taken over his younger sister's work and contacted the Research Institute to promote the Chinese medicinal herbs to the market, almost couldn't help but swear on the spot. Although not many people paid attention to those verified accounts, if one were to search for them, they would find that these people were basically the seniors of the medical association. In the eyes of ordinary people, they were representative authoritative figures and professional insiders. After these people jumped out to criticize for a while, the medical association that they were backed by also jumped out to make a specious post. Although there were no clear statements to support these people, it was difficult not to associate them in this sensitive period. Many people might not dare to have any dissatisfaction with the research institute, but they had a preconceived suspicion of Su Yiyan and the Chinese medicinal herbs that were about to be promoted. Chapter 788. Su Yiyan frowned as she listened to her brother's complaints. She knew about the Chinese Medical Association. The Chinese Medical Association, as the name suggested, was an association that controlled the right to use all kinds of drugs. However, not all drugs were in their hands. Logically speaking, the Chinese Medical Association would have been the best choice if she had wanted to hand over those Chinese herbs. However, she had never considered the association at all and had instead handed the herbs to the Research Institute. Firstly, it was because her grandfather was more familiar with the Research Institute. If she wanted to seek protection, the Research Institute was obviously more suitable than the Chinese Medical Association. Secondly, she had also heard of the Chinese Medical Association. In her previous life, the association had several internal disputes because of profit issues. On the surface it seemed peaceful, but in reality there were constant disputes, and its reputation was not very good. If she handed those Chinese herbs to them, she would be lucky if they did not bite off a piece of meat from her, let alone seek protection. Wuxia had asked people to monitor all kinds of public opinions about Su Yiyan on the internet. As soon as these people jumped out, her subordinates spontaneously ran to investigate. While the siblings were talking, Yu Zian and the others had already sent the information they had found to Wuxia. The Chinese Medical Association developed an anti-cancer drug a week ago, and it caused a sensation in the industry. Su Yiyan narrowed her eyes and sneered. No wonder. It seems that we have touched someone else's cheese. They had just developed an anti-cancer drug, and the Research Institute had announced that they would promote Chinese herbs. It was impossible to say that this had no impact on the Chinese Medical Association, which had always had the right to speak about drugs. However, this matter could have been a win-win situation for both sides, but the Chinese Medical Association had obviously not considered this point. Instead, they had directly sent the Chinese herbs and the Research Institute to the teeth of the storm. Did they really think that they could cover the sky with one hand and do whatever they wanted? Did they really think that they could do whatever they wanted and look down on others? Ha! Su Yiyan sneered. No matter how good a thing was, as long as it was related to capital, it would become utilitarian and sharp. Take drugs for example. They were supposed to be used to save lives and heal the injured, but in the end, they had become a tool for businessmen to pursue fame and profit. The Chinese Medical Association has a reputation, and these old guys have some reputation in the industry. I'm afraid this won't be easy to handle. What do you plan to do? What do you mean? You don't have to do anything. Do nothing. Isn't that? Su Yuxuan looked at her sister. She almost thought that she had lost her mind after being pregnant for 3 years. She was so upset that she had given up on herself. What's the hurry? The promotion of Chinese medicinal herbs was only the first step. If they couldn't even achieve this step, it would be impossible to promote more complicated pharmacology in Chinese medicine. Don't worry, there are people who are more anxious than us. Su Yiyan's guess was right. There were indeed people who were more anxious than them. They were the seniors who had listened to Su Yiyan's lectures in a university. They were different from the pioneers who relied on the Chinese Medical Association to stand up straight. Although these seniors were all registered in the Chinese Medical Association, most of them had their own independent research laboratories. Their relationship with the TCM Association was more of a cooperative relationship. In fact, the TCM Association even relied on them more. After all, without the support of some big shots, how could the TCM Association still be considered a TCM Association? And it was these big shots who almost jumped in anger on the spot when they heard the students talk about these things on the internet. Chapter 789. They're a bunch of old bastards who only know how to hang around in various associations and wait for death. Usually when they're busy they don't even show up. Now they're jumping out as if someone dug up their ancestral graves. Yi Qiuyang was trembling with anger. He had been waiting for this day for too long. He had finally seen some hope, but it was ruined by these people. Yi Qiuyang wanted to swallow them alive. Yi Qiuyang was not the only one who was angry. Even though he had not gone to University A with a pure purpose in mind. Most people were just curious about what Chinese medicine, which Yi Qiuyang had admired for most of his life, was like. However, after a year of online learning, many people were attracted to this subject and truly fell in love with it. To these people, the Chinese Medical Association's move was no different from plucking the hair from a tiger's mouth. Isn't that right? Look at how weird they are. Why didn't I realize that these people's mouths are so cheap? I haven't interacted with them many times before. On the surface they seem like decent people, but I didn't expect them to have such low moral standards. They can even lie through their teeth when things are obvious. Did you just realize? These people are not good people to begin with. Do you remember the pharmaceutical exchange 5 years ago? At that time, I saw with my own eyes that these people deliberately bullied the young people who attended the exchange. Not only did they take advantage of their seniority, but one or two of them even, harassed the young girls in the hotel at that time. That's true. More than 10 people present were shocked. Why didn't you tell us? The old man who was yelled at touched his nose guiltily. Then he snorted coldly and said angrily, "Would you believe me if I told you? I only found out by chance. I didn't have any recording equipment with me. Who would believe me if I told you?" The old man who spoke had a fiery temper. He was a loner and did not get close to the others. Even though they knew that he did not have any bad intentions and had some real talent, they still could not get close to him. Usually, other than the necessary research and work time, they rarely met. With such a friendship, he really couldn't expect the other party to report everything to him. Moreover, as he said, even if he did, would they really believe him? The person who had been criticizing him immediately shut his mouth, feeling inexplicably guilty. After a long while, someone spoke again, discussing these people whom they seemed to have met for the first time. "Although I've only met them a few times, I really don't like them. I just didn't expect them to have no bottom line." In the end, they were all old foxes who had lived for most of their lives. Their judgment of people was still very accurate. It's just that if you don't understand a person, you'll still have a conservative estimate of a person's character, but you'll forget that human nature is far more complicated than they think. This is too much. As seniors, it's fine if they don't help and support talented juniors, but they're even suppressing them. Do they really think that the academic world is theirs alone? You even harassed girls. A female professor in her 60s was so angry that her face turned red. Such a refined scum is actually from the same place as us. It's because of people like them that the reputation of the pharmaceutical industry is so bad. How did such a morally corrupt person become such a person? Doesn't anyone teach them a lesson? It's because of flattery that they can climb to where they are today. Didn't you see what they posted? Chapter 790. As soon as he said that, everyone present fell silent. On the surface, these so-called seniors were accusing the industry of being fake and exaggerated, warning the public not to be deceived. However, everyone present could tell that the Chinese Medical Association was fanning the flames behind the scenes. They were using these people's words to deliberately suppress Chinese medicine. As for why they were doing this? Of course, they were afraid that Chinese medicine would really be useful and affect their monopoly on the medicine market, which would affect their way of making money. The main problem is still with the Chinese Medical Association. I used to think that they were unscrupulous, but I didn't expect. It's not strange. The Chinese Medical Association is no longer the same as it was 20 years ago. They've changed so many foremen, and each generation is worse than the last. In recent years, they've even gotten a few laymen to manage it. They've turned a good place into a mess. How can it still be like before? Everyone present was more or less disappointed when they heard that. Although they were only part of the association in name, they were actually very close to the first president of the association. When the association was established back then, they had also contributed a lot. Unfortunately, the president later passed away due to illness, and the upper management of the association had changed several times. Everyone watched as the place gradually became unfamiliar, but they could do nothing about it. In the end, they simply stayed in name and did not participate in their internal affairs. This had been going on for many years. During this period, some businessmen in the association did not use their names to show off. As long as they did not go overboard, they tolerated it for the sake of the first president. However, this time, I think they've been too complacent over the years. They've forgotten their own capabilities and their original intention of establishing the Chinese Medical Association back then. As soon as Yi Qiliang said this, everyone fell silent again. After a long time, someone finally asked, "What are you going to do? We've already come to this point. What else can we do?" Everyone looked at each other and had an answer in their hearts. When the Chinese Medical Association first discovered that people were discussing Chinese medicine online, they did not pay much attention to it. In their opinion, even if this was true, these Chinese medicine would definitely be very delicate, since they would become extinct during the migration process. Even if they could really grow and survive, they would definitely not be able to promote it to the whole nation. It would not affect them. It was this contempt that caused them to be in an awkward situation at this moment. A week ago, they chose the most appropriate time to announce the news that the cancer drug was about to hit the market, which caused a sensation. In the end, this popularity only lasted for less than a week. It was actually suppressed by the Research Institute, a Chinese herbal medicine that came out of nowhere. The higher-ups of the TCM Association were furious when they found out about this. They also felt an unprecedented sense of crisis in their hearts. Over the past few years, the TCM Association had been the dominant force. There was almost no one in the industry who could compete with them. Over time, they had become accustomed to this comfort and took it for granted. Now, an unknown factor had suddenly emerged, and this unknown factor was backed by the Research Institute. After everyone panicked, their unanimous reaction was to strangle it in the cradle before it truly rose. For this reason, they reacted quickly. They found a few obedient seniors and asked them to set the pace on the internet. At the same time, they mobilized the Internet Water Army and the official account of the Chinese Medical Association to ensure that Su Yiyan and the researchers were implicated. There was no way to clear their names. Chapter 791. Things were indeed developing in the direction they had expected. The higher-ups were also proud of their wise decision. However, their joy did not last long. They received news from their subordinates that more than 10 old professors who were originally under the association had collectively sent resignation letters. From that day onward, they would no longer be affiliated with the association. This news was like a bolt of lightning that struck the association. The people inside were thrown off their feet. Associations like theirs were actually similar to some special enterprises. Every year, they would apply for a sum of money from the higher-ups for experimental research and internal operations. They would use this money to conduct research and experiments on new drugs to make profits. However, the prerequisite for applying for this sum of money was that there had to be at least 20 professors in the relevant fields in the association. Only then would they meet the minimum application criteria. This was also the main reason why Yi Qiliang and the others were only affiliated with the association in name, but no one dared to give them any attitude. Now that more than 10 of the 20 old professors had suddenly left, everyone was dumbfounded. There were more than 10 of them, not just a few. No matter what industry they were in, as long as they could be called seniors, they were a scarce resource. With so many of them leaving at once, where were they going to find people to fill this huge hole? After the president of the association recovered from his shock, he immediately rushed to the Human Resources Department and asked for the phone numbers of the old professors. He called them one by one. In the end, either they could not get through, or they hung up the moment they heard his self-introduction. One or two of them had a bad temper and directly retorted, "Don't you know what the association has done?" The president was stunned. What did they do? Before he had time to think about it, the phone was hung up again. The president of the association had never been treated like this ever since he took over the association. His expression immediately turned a little ugly. Just as he was wondering if he should continue calling or devise a countermeasure early to find people to fill this huge hole, he first found out why these people had suddenly resigned. These people had just sent their resignation letters to the association and then reposted the post from the Research Institute to express their anticipation and support. Seniors of their age usually did not surf the internet. Even if they occasionally posted something, it was basically some academic information that was like a heavenly book to ordinary people. Therefore, not many people noticed when they first shared the post. The only one that stood out was Yi Qiliang. Because he had stood up for Su Yiyan before, Su Yiyan's audience paid attention to him. Although the other old professors were not as famous as those celebrities who would have a large number of fans following them whenever there was a slight commotion, there were quite a lot of students under their public accounts. These people had taught and educated people for most of their lives. Although they didn't dare to say that they had students all over the world, they still had quite a few proud students. Once they saw that their teacher, who had been silent for 10,000 years, suddenly had a new situation, many people immediately chased after him. After figuring out the ins and outs of the matter, those who had money paid for the promotion, and those who had money pulled others to help with the promotion. This pushed all of them into the public eye. At this moment, the debate between the Research Institute and the Chinese Medical Association on the internet had yet to die down. Suddenly, a bunch of unfamiliar names suddenly appeared on the internet. The onlookers were all dumbfounded, not knowing what to do. If you don't understand, just ask. What's the situation with these people? They seem to be old accounts that they don't use much. Could it be that they are some low-key big shots? Subway grandpa looking at mobile. JPG. Chapter 792. Be good and use the search engine well. There will be a surprise. In the face of the unknown, some people would wait for others to come back and explain it to them, while some people would find out the truth by themselves when others asked them to explain it to them. F***ck, they're back after the investigation. I'm a little dazed now. Most low-key people are really big shots. F***ck, no wonder some of the names here look familiar. They once appeared in the textbooks and tortured us when we were students. How can they not be familiar? I only have some impression of this Professor Yi. Last time, when the streamer was criticized in a sarcastic manner, he came out to speak up for her. At that time, someone asked me to explain this big shot's life history. Now that I think about it, it still feels magical. People always feared and worshipped powerful people, especially those who appeared in the textbooks. Many of them were the goals that students worked hard for. Yi Qiliang and the others had many professional fans. It was rare for them to meet a professional in the entertainment industry, so they naturally had to give their mentors enough face. One by one they told them about the glorious history they had caused. A few of the old professor's students even quarreled over whose mentor was more powerful. The way they quarreled was by constantly throwing their mentor's research results and past glory at each other. The netizens who silently witnessed the fight between the immortals were speechless. They were just watching the show. Why did they have to accept being crushed by geniuses? The aggrieved underachievers almost cried out loud. This show is giving me indigestion. As an underachiever who barely passed, I'm actually watching the gossip of a big shot. I'm not worthy. These words were the thoughts of all the underachievers present. Soon, someone realized that something was wrong. Am I seeing things? A few of these people are members of the Chinese Medical Association according to their online information. But didn't the Chinese Medical Association just tear apart the female streamer and the researcher not long ago? What's going on now? Are they slapping themselves in the face or are they fighting among themselves? Yes, I noticed it too. It's just that I didn't dare to say anything when I saw a bunch of immortals fighting. I was afraid that I would be implicated. Their doubts soon brought the topic back to the beginning. It was about whether these people were internal members of the TCM Association, whether there was internal strife in the TCM Association, and why. This time, whether the popularization of Chinese medicinal herbs in the Research Institute was related to the internal strife, or if they were just innocently involved and suffered an unexpected disaster. A series of topics continued to ferment. Many media outlets smelled a trace of something unusual and began to make up all kinds of melodramatic guesses. By the time the higher-ups of the association realized that things were completely out of control, it was already too late to contact the seniors and beg for mercy. Yi Qiliang and the others released a joint statement not long after someone mentioned their identities as members of the Chinese Medical Association. He expressed that he did not agree with the current philosophy of the TCM Association, and that he would withdraw from the TCM Association as of today. From now on he would go his separate ways. This clean and straightforward explanation was not only a slap to the TCM Association's face, but it also shocked the onlookers. Soon after, an insider revealed that more than a dozen seniors of the TCM Association had submitted their resignation letters because they were dissatisfied with the new decision of the higher-ups of the TCM Association to suppress the Research Institute. They had completely announced their departure from the TCM Association. Chapter 793. This revelation could be said to have completely torn off the hypocrisy of the Chinese Medical Association. It also made many people begin to suspect the intentions of the few verified accounts who suddenly appeared to question Chinese medicine. They were all authoritative figures, but those people's reputation, status, and achievements could not compare to Yi Qiliang and the others. When both sides were professionals, outsiders would naturally be more willing to believe the more capable side. Even if the Chinese Medical Association's Crisis Public Relations Department immediately sent a lawyer's letter to warn the so-called insider, it could not win back the hearts of the people. You think it's not true just because you say so? Then why don't you tell me why they suddenly withdrew from the association so forcefully? Anyone with half a brain would know that a large number of big shots suddenly left the association. There must be a big change in the association. Why don't you tell me the reason? Do you really think the netizens are fools? The higher-ups of the Chinese Medical Association watched as the public opinion took a turn and took a sharp turn. Not only did they not trick anyone, but they also caused trouble for themselves. The president of the Chinese Medical Association was so angry that he smashed a glass on the spot. He cursed in the office for a long time and no one dared to approach him. In the end, a certain someone who was the key to the final outcome was in a good mood. He felt that he could eat another bowl of rice tonight. Did you see it? Su Yuxuan was like those underachievers online who were embarrassed by the popular science. He watched in disbelief as these big shots, who he had only heard of but never seen before, popped up one after another to speak up for his sister and support the research institute. At this moment he was a little stunned. I saw it. Yeah. Yin, where did you find so many big shots to support you? Could it be Grandpa? No, Grandpa's connections are mainly at the research institute. These people in the Chinese Medical Association. Okay, no need to guess. Su Yiyan listened to his brother's nagging and raised his chin slightly with a little pride. These are all my favorite students. Favorite students? Su Yuxuan's expression froze. He said in disbelief, Did I hear wrongly? You said they are your students? How old are you? How can you be their teacher? And people like them, what can you teach them? Su Yiyan was both angry and amused when he heard this. Do you look down on your sister that much? This is not a matter of whether I look down on her or not, it's... Su Yiyan looked at him with a faint smile. What is it? Su Yuxuan's intuition told him that something was wrong. He frowned slightly and turned to look at Huo Qinhuan. To confirm. Is what she said true? Huo Qinhuan knew what was going on. He nodded and replied, yes. Su Yuxuan felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His suspicious gaze shifted between the two of them. He clearly suspected that the couple had teamed up to tease him. Su Yiyan could tell what Su Yuxuan was thinking at a glance. She rolled her eyes helplessly and explained the whole story to him. Them? Strictly speaking, I should be considered half their teacher, right? Su Yuxuan was even more dazed when he heard this. His sister had actually taught these big shots and was loved by them. Su Yuxuan took some time to digest this huge amount of information. Then, as if he had been provoked, his eyes widened. He pointed at Su Yiyan and shouted, Vixen, give me back my sister. Su Yiyan? Chapter 794. The room suddenly fell into a dead silence. Su Yiyan, who had been shocked by her brother's actions, couldn't come back to her senses for a long time. After an unknown amount of time, Huo Qinhuan couldn't hold it in anymore and was the first to burst out laughing. When he laughed, Su Yiyan also seemed to wake up from a dream. She looked at her brother with an indescribable expression. Brother, what have you been through during this period of time? How could a good black sesame rice ball turn into a sand sculpture? Su Yuxuan saw his sister's disdain for him and almost laughed out of anger. Don't look at me like that. Aren't you the one who caused me to become like this? I caused you to become like this? Su Yiyan pointed at herself with a face full of shock. She felt as if a huge pot had flown down from the sky and smashed on her head. Now that things had come to this, Su Yuxuan felt like he had nothing left to lose. He crossed his arms over his chest and sneered, I don't know who it was that suddenly asked Mom to arrange a blind date for me. Now I have to go out and eat with strange women every 2 to 3 days. After seeing so many women, I finally understand the truth of a certain saying. A certain saying? What saying? When the forest is big, there are all kinds of birds. Su Yuxuan's face darkened as if he wanted to beat someone up. Do you know how many blind dates I've seen during this period of time? 20. On average, I've seen one every 2 days. Su Yuxuan gestured with his hands as he spoke. If these people were reliable, then it would be fine. It's a blind date. It's supposed to be a meeting to get to know each other. If you get along, then stay. If you don't, then leave. But what's wrong with them? Su Yiyan listened to Su Yuxuan's tearful complaints with a blank expression. Didn't her mother say that she would screen the candidates in advance before recommending them to her brother? Logically speaking, it shouldn't be too outrageous. Mom made the decision to let you go. Are you okay? Are you all right? Su Yuxuan was so angry that she laughed. Among the few that I've been in contact with recently, One of them told me that she has mental misophobia and believes in platonic marriage. She can't tolerate her husband's betrayal, whether it's mental or physical. So, for the sake of our future marriage, I must get a vasectomy before we get married. PFFF. These sisters are fierce. The other one was fine at first. As they chatted, she suddenly said that although her family was quite rich, that money belonged to her younger brother and had nothing to do with her. And when we get married in the future, she hopes that I will give her brother a share of our company as a betrothal gift. Help. Help younger brother? Another one asked me directly. She's bisexual. After we get married, can she bring her regular lover over to live with us? If I'm interested, they wouldn't even mind having a threesome with me. Su Yiyan was stunned. Oh my god, isn't this too open-minded? Are young people these days so good at playing? Huan. BFFF baby, you're still young. Don't make it sound like you're in your 70s or 80s. I don't want to say this, but brother, have you been tainted by something unclean? How did you meet such weirdos? As soon as Su Yiyan finished speaking, Su Yuxuan's sharp glare flew over. Thinking that he was partly responsible for this matter, Su Yiyan laughed dryly and shut his mouth in embarrassment. Su Yuxuan still couldn't calm down after he finished speaking. He looked up at the sky and sighed. For the past month, I've been shouldering everything by myself. Chapter 795. Su Yiyan felt goosebumps all over her body when she heard his sad aria. But when she remembered that she was the one who brought it up first, Su Yiyan couldn't help but feel a little guilty. She coughed lightly and said, "You can tell Mom about this. Mom has already screened the blind dates for you, but it's inevitable that some fish will slip through the net. If you tell her, she'll know who to screen next time and you'll suffer less." To be honest, Qing Xiuqin couldn't be blamed for this. Except for the last one, if they didn't mention the first two, they might not have been able to find out. With Su Yuxuan's ex-girlfriend as an example, Qing Xiuqin first investigated the other party's character. Strictly speaking, there was nothing wrong with mental cleanliness, but it was a little inhumane to ask Su Yuxuan to get a vasectomy. Although the sister-supporting demon was a little scary, it was also related to the other party's family environment. You could dislike it and be unwilling to jump into the pit, but you didn't have to be too critical. As for the last one, it wasn't something to be proud of in a rich family, so the family naturally took pains to hide it. But he didn't expect his daughter to be so honest and reveal it herself as soon as they met. He didn't know if it was because she was confident in her family background, or because she saw Su Yuxuan's gentle and honest appearance, but she felt that he was easy to bully. In the end, it could only be said that Su Yuxuan was too unlucky. There were such weirdos every year, but there were especially many this year, and he encountered all of them. Forget it. Su Yuxuan had already given up on treatment. Just treat it as a free social beating to accumulate experience. After seeing so many weirdos at once, he wouldn't be too surprised if he met any more idiots in the future. And after seeing so many women with strange ideas, his judgment of people would improve slightly in the future. He would treat it as a preparation for his discerning eyes to find his future wife. But if this situation continued, Su Yuxuan wasn't sure if he would go crazy first or become numb first. Let's not talk about this anymore. Since they've stood up for you, what are you going to do about the research institute? What else can I do? Su Yiyan chuckled. Of course it's a cold dish. Therefore, not long after the two sides were in an uproar, Su Yiyan finally logged into the public account used for live streaming and posted a status. This was the first time Su Yiyan appeared in the eyes of her livestream viewers after 3 months. Yinyan's little kitchen, buy it or not. I've been busy feeding the baby recently, so I don't have time to play these schemes with you guys. As soon as this post came out, there was a mix of fans and haters. It was very noisy. The anti-fans thought that Su Yiyan was too arrogant, and the experts from the Chinese Medical Association had already concluded that she was creating hype. The things she took out were not as magical as she claimed, yet she still dared to sell medicine so blatantly. She did not care about human lives at all. The loyal audience in Su Yiyan's live streaming room was already overjoyed by the appearance of Yi Qiliang and the others. When they saw Su Yiyan's post, they instantly straightened their backs and quickly retorted. If you don't want your eyes, you can donate them. Thank you. What's with the Chinese Medical Association's experts? They're just unscrupulous businessmen who take advantage of their seniority. They feel that the host and the research institute threaten their interests, so they poured a basin of dirty water on her. It's really disgusting. Upstairs, why are you still shutting your eyes and criticizing her? Even if you don't ask us old viewers, you should ask the big boss's students if they agree. Chapter 796. Some people were even more straightforward. They simply went along with Su Yian's words and beat around the bush to criticize these keyboard warriors. I beg you not to buy it. I'm one of the earliest viewers of the streamer's live broadcast room. I've been in the streamer's live broadcast room for almost 2 years. I don't have a share in the lucky draw and I can't get an appointment. Now I finally have ready-made materials to buy. Although my culinary skills aren't that good, I really want to try the medicinal cuisine made by the streamer. When it's on the shelves, I beg you not to fight with me. Please save the child. +1. This is only the first batch, so it's definitely not a lot. I can already see the grand occasion of tens of millions of viewers in the streamer's live broadcast room fighting for a few medicinal cuisines. I beg you to keep your word. Don't buy it, please don't buy it. Give us, the old viewers, a chance to spend money. I've been saving money since I started watching the streamer's live broadcast. After saving for so long, my wallet can't wait. Disque, do I lack those few dollars? What I lack are those rare materials in the streamer's hands. I've already given up on something as difficult as frying fish, but stewing soup looks simple. I can still try it. I hope there won't be too many people fighting with me on the day of the sale. I want lotus seeds, red dates, motherwort. I really can't afford to hurt a baby who's in pain during her period. Please pre-sell it quickly. I'll buy until it explodes. The bald party is still waiting for the fleece flower. I went to the research institute to send a private message to the editor, Bao Bao. They said that the cultivation has already begun, but it'll take at least 2 years for it to mature and be sold. I envy those who can buy it now. I can even send a private message to the editor of the research institute. No, I have to ask too. By the way, I'll ask when the public herbs will be available for pre-sale. In an instant, the viewers, who seemed to have their conception and governing vessels opened up, were too lazy to care about these keyboard warriors. They rushed to the public account of the Research Institute to harass the editor and ask when the medicinal herbs they were longing for would be available for sale. Some of Su Yian's haters, together with the paid posters hired by the Chinese Medical Association, seriously and conscientiously slandered him for a long time. In the end, they were mocked and ridiculed from all directions. In the end, they were completely ignored. They were so angry that they almost smashed the keyboard of their subordinates. Similarly, Yi Qiliang and the others were also deeply vexed. Right now they were filled with regret. Very, very regret. Before they spoke up for Su Yiyan to the Research Institute, why didn't they think that they could actually wait for them to buy the first batch of medicinal herbs in the chaos before coming out to clear their names? In that case, there wouldn't be so many competitors. When they bought the herbs, they could directly popularize the herbs on their accounts. They could even test the ingredients of the herbs on the spot. Wouldn't that be more convincing? What a miscalculation. All of a sudden, the big shots who had called back countless competitors were regretting it so much that their intestines turned green. But that was just a thought. If they could do it all over again, they would probably still stand up. Everyone had preconceived notions. If they did not stand up for Su Yiyan at this time, no matter how much they said later, some people would stubbornly think that they had been bribed and were quibbling. Otherwise, why didn't he say anything at the beginning and only came out now that everything was calm? Was he trying to clear his name? Therefore, despite their heartache, Yi Qiliang and the others did not dwell on it for too long. They quickly composed themselves and contacted their students in the Research Institute. They hoped that these people would give them the green light to buy a few more medicinal herbs as teaching materials since they had taught them for a period of time. Chapter 797. Su Yiyan did not pay much attention to the subsequent storm on the internet. Just like the status she had posted, buy it or not, take it or leave it. She had only taken out those Chinese medicinal herbs in the hope that she could help some people in need while seeking refuge. After handing the herbs over to the Research Institute, Old Master Cheng gave her a small research and planting factory in order to make the Chinese medicinal herb masters famous. The Chinese medicinal herbs that the Research Institute had announced to be produced were grown by this factory in cooperation with the Research Institute's technicians. Most of the people in this factory were Old Master Cheng's former subordinates and were trustworthy. After Su Yiyan took over the factory, she did not spend much time managing it. She only asked the people inside to cooperate with the Research Institute's technicians and plant the herbs well. She did not expect to make money from this. Opportunities had to be grasped by oneself. Just like how you could never wake up a person who was pretending to be asleep, you could never save a person who was determined to die. For Su Yiyan, those people who clamored not to buy the herbs did not affect her. There were so many people in the world, and there were always people who knew what was good for them. She would not lose anything. On the other hand, those who could have used these herbs to treat their illnesses would miss the opportunity to relieve their pain because of others' opinions. In this way, who would be at a disadvantage? Su Yiyan was not a saint, and she did not have the habit of raising ungrateful people. Those who believed in her would naturally believe her, and those who did not, she would not force them. She did not owe them anything. Su Yiyan had no intention of getting entangled with these people, but Huo Chenhuan did not have such a good temper. After Yi Qiliang and the others jumped out to support the research institute and Su Yiyan, the Chinese Medical Association did not say anything and tried to pretend to be dead until the end. During this period, it was not that they did not hire fake reviewers to create momentum and categorize this matter as a private grudge within the Chinese Medical Association. Unfortunately, as soon as these fake reviewers posted their words, they were strangled to death by a large number of netizens who retaliated. They could not even make a splash. When the higher-ups of the Chinese Medical Association saw this, they did not dare to act rashly, especially those who spoke first. These people were used to having things go smoothly. They did not expect that they would be slapped in the face by their seniors when they were just suppressing a small-time online streamer. While they felt resentful, they were also inexplicably afraid that they would be used as a role model because of this matter. Because of this, even if everyone felt indignant, they didn't dare to do anything. They were as quiet as chickens, hoping that this matter would be resolved as soon as possible. However, they still underestimated someone's narrow-mindedness. Just when everyone thought that this matter was almost over, a well-known internet celebrity suddenly jumped out to expose the matter. He even reported the few old guys who first jumped out to smear Su Yiyan's reputation. In his own words, he had been eating melons happily recently. Out of curiosity, he looked into the background of the demon and ghost that started the rhythm at the beginning. He didn't expect to eat such a big piece of rotten melon. He felt that he couldn't be the only one who was disgusted, so he released this rotten melon. It was better for everyone to be disgusted than to be alone. It was a very infuriating statement, but it unexpectedly attracted a large crowd of onlookers. As a result, many people were disgusted when they heard this. F***ck, what the hell is this? Plagiarizing results, suppressing newcomers, harassing waitresses, embezzling public funds for kickbacks? What kind of demons and ghosts were these? It's so disgusting that I want to vomit. There were still people who said that they were very powerful and were the authoritative figures in the industry. They used these people's sarcastic words to smear our streamer. Does your face hurt now? These are the seniors that you admire? I think they're more like old beasts. Chapter 798. Suppressing newcomers and plagiarizing students' research results for their own. How can they be mentors? They're a disgrace to the academic world. I'm about to throw up. I've always thought that these old guys looked weird. They had white eyes and hooked noses. To put it bluntly, they had pointy mouths and monkey cheeks. Now that I've seen the video of them harassing and raping the waitress, I'm really going to throw up. What kind of scum are they? I didn't understand why Professor Yi and the others would suddenly withdraw from the association. Now that I've seen this, I finally understand. Fortunately, they withdrew. Otherwise, they might have been dragged down by this group of trash and vermin and lost their integrity in their later years. This Big V's revelation directly pushed the few people who pretended to be dead and the association to the forefront of the storm once again. Among the few people who were exposed, 3 of them were involved in academic fraud. They plagiarized students' research results and took them for themselves. These 3 people were indeed quite capable in their early years. Unfortunately, they had seen too much of the Huahua world outside and were used to being flattered. They had long forgotten how they had worked their way up step by step. After years of sensual pleasures, how could they be expected to spend as much effort on academics as before and produce amazing research results? In order to protect their positions in the association, they began to take unconventional measures. They recruited talented students and took their research results for their own use to improve their reputation. With a good reputation, they would attract more talented students. They would have more and better targets to suck blood from. There would be an endless stream of them. A great man once said, when the profit reaches 10%, they'll be tempted. When the profit reaches 50%, they'll take the risk. When the profit reaches 100%, they'll dare to trample all the laws of the world. When the profit reaches 300%, they'll dare to risk being hanged. It seemed exaggerated, but that was the reality. It was a bloody reality that buried countless rotten bones. At first they were still a little anxious. It was not because they felt guilty toward those students, but because they were worried that this matter would be exposed and affect their reputation in future. However, they gradually stopped being afraid because those students' foundation was not as good as theirs. They could only swallow their grievances helplessly. After a few times, they began to become unscrupulous and even took it for granted. Needless to say, the two of them had harassed the waitress before, so they didn't take it seriously at all. In this world, the protection of girls was not comprehensive. In their opinion, if this kind of thing were to spread out, the girls would still be the ones to suffer. So what if a man was a little flirtatious? Who knows, there might even be some D***ck cancer who would turn around and scold the girl for being shameless and seducing him on purpose. After all, some straight men even thought that a girl wearing a slightly shorter skirt was a sexual hint. In the end, the one who embezzled public funds and took kickbacks was because he was related to the current president of the association. Originally, his ability was not enough to enter the association, but because of his nepotism, he was accepted as an exception. For this reason, he often used the chicken steak as a token of authority and used this relationship to bully the newcomers, seeking benefits for himself. The president might not know about the commission, but the fact that the two of them were relatives was enough for people to pin the blame on him. After all, this person's existence was evidence of him abusing his power for personal gain. It was not wrong to be implicated by him now. Chapter 799. Yi Qiliang and the others did not expect there to be a follow-up to this incident. After carefully reading the news, they were inevitably shocked. Preposterous. Preposterous. These people are really rotten to the core. The other people's faces did not look good either. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that they stole a student's research results made everyone present feel disgusted. These people were all involved in academia and research, so they naturally knew how much hard work and effort it took to complete a research project. In the end, everything they had done was taken away and all their efforts were in vain. This feeling was like a child that they had been carrying for 10 months and raising for many years was suddenly abducted by human traffickers one day. The child was then crowned with someone else's surname and became someone else's child. Unfortunately, they were not as rich and powerful as the other party. They did not even have the confidence to get their child back. They could only watch their child acknowledge the thief as his father. Although we shouldn't wash our dirty linen in public, this is no longer just a dirty linen. Look at this. One of the old professors sighed and pointed at the people who had suddenly jumped out in a few minutes to prove that the news was true. Skipping over the emotional parties, who looked as if they had gotten their revenge, one of the non-parties who leaked the information attracted a lot of attention. This informant claimed to have grown up with one of the people whose research results had been stolen. They used to be schoolmates. He accurately said that his friend's research was plagiarized back then and posted some of the original manuscript online to prove that the research was indeed the result of his friend's own research. Onlookers loved this kind of news the most. It was satisfying and not tiring. However, there were also people who wondered why he was the one who posted these things instead of the person involved. The other party quickly replied, because he is no longer in this world. The hearts of the onlookers suddenly trembled. Then, without needing to be urged, the person spontaneously told the tragic truth behind this plagiarism. It turned out that his friend's mother had died early, and his father had raised him single-handedly. He was also promising and had been admitted to a good school with his own ability. Before he graduated, he was taken into a research lab under one of the three old guys. The people around him envied him and felt that he had a promising future with such a backer. At first he felt that he was very lucky. However, just as he was about to graduate and his research was about to bear fruit, his father suddenly fell seriously ill and needed a large sum of money for treatment. At that time, his friend had tried his best to produce results because only then could he get the money to treat his father, prove his ability, and find a good job to support the family. It was easy to imagine what would happen in the end. The results that he had worked so hard for were snatched away by his mentor. The reputation that he deserved and the money that could save his life, he didn't get any of it. His father didn't have enough money to pay for his treatment and passed away soon after. Not only that, but someone was worried that he would make a scene because of this matter, so he deliberately framed him with the crime of theft, leaving a black mark on his file so that no company would be willing to hire him. After a series of blows, the person involved was completely disheartened. In the end, she walked the path of despair and committed suicide by jumping off a building in her most beautiful years. Chapter 800. Other than the people in the industry who had a deep understanding of the situation, most of the netizens only treated it as an interesting piece of news. Now that they suddenly discovered that this piece of news involved human lives, these people no longer dared to treat it as an interesting and insignificant piece of news. Of course, it was not that no one questioned why such a terrible thing was not exposed back then and only revealed now. The other party also quickly replied, "Back then someone covered the sky with one hand and the victims had no way to appeal. Now that someone has finally self-destructed, I'll feel uneasy if I don't take this opportunity to seek justice for the dead." It was reasonable and well-founded, causing a commotion. After that, another person revealed that the two old men who harassed the waitress did not only harass this girl. There was once a victim upstairs. The girl's parents wanted to seek justice for the girl, but in the end, they were slandered for deliberately seducing a married man. The people around did not know the truth and pointed fingers at the girl, forcing the girl to go insane and cut her wrists at home. Although they were rescued later, the whole family had moved away. They didn't know what was going on now. They originally thought that it was just a moral dispute, but it suddenly involved fate. With these two typical examples, the netizens were furious. The higher-ups also quickly noticed this matter and quickly set up an investigation team to investigate. In the end, the vines were pulled out along with the melons. One melon after another was dug out. The incident was so big that it shocked the entire industry. The president of the medical association and those people still did not understand until they were arrested. They were just suppressing an unknown internet celebrity. How did they get themselves implicated? Yi Qiliang and the others watched helplessly as the melon rolled from a small one to a huge one. It fell and crushed a group of people to death. How did this happen? I heard from a student who has some connections in the investigation department that the news is basically true. One of the old professors shook his head and said sadly, "I can only say that God is watching what people do. It's not that the karma won't come, it's just that it's not time yet." A relatively younger professor on the side frowned and looked inquisitive. "I think someone is behind this. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caused such a big commotion." Yi Qiliang smiled and said, "What does it matter if someone is behind this? As long as these things were true, it was fine. Hiding these rotten scars would only make them worse. He should take advantage of this opportunity to dig them out. Only when you grow new flesh can you improve." The people beside him looked at each other and seemed to have sensed something. "From what you've said, you seem to know something." Yi Qiliang didn't refute. He smiled and said, "That little teacher of ours has a good temper and doesn't like to fuss. But the one in her family is someone who dotes on people." Although Yi Qiliang had only met Huo Chenhuan a few times, he could tell that he cared a lot about Su Yiyan. His wife had painstakingly given birth to the child and was in the middle of her confinement period. How could he tolerate that? Everyone was not stupid. They immediately thought of the man who had personally come to the school to pick up Su Yiyan. They had also seen him from afar. "You mean?" Yi Qiliang did not answer directly. He only smiled and said, "It's good to dote on someone. Only those who know how to dote on someone will know how to protect them." Chapter 801. Su Yiyan went offline after she posted that post, so she did not see the chaos that followed. What she posted at that time was not considered a lie. She was about to finish her confinement and was busy preparing for her baby's full moon celebration. Huo Chenhuan remembered the doctor's words and did not stop her from doing these things. She only asked the family to cooperate with her and not let her be too tired. Previously, the background for little Kanji's full moon celebration was the azure blue of the sea. Su Yiyan wanted to give her baby a party that was different from others, so she naturally did not choose this color. After thinking about it, she finally decided to use bright yellow as the main color, which was just right for his name. The venue for the full moon celebration was a hotel under Zheng Qinyang's name. This hotel was transferred to the little guy's name when he was born. Before he came of age, it was temporarily under Su Yiyan's care. In Zheng Qinyang's words, he had nothing in his hands except for these properties. Since the little guy called him granduncle, as an elder, it was not strange for him to give the younger generation a greeting gift in advance. Su Yiyan? This family's habit of giving gifts to each other was really in the same vein. Many people were invited to the banquet. In addition to the relatives and friends of the Hua and Su families, Huo Qinhuan also kept her promise and invited all the employees in the company to join in the fun. Naturally, the employees of Su Yiyan's restaurant and the chefs of Huo Qinhuan's family were in charge of the food for the full moon celebration. Considering that there were too many people coming, they decided to use a buffet style and prepare in advance so that they could make up for it at any time. When the employees of Huo Qinhuan's company found out about it, they spontaneously gave a big red packet to the baby as a congratulatory gift. However, in the end they basically returned it and only took 6 yuan as a courtesy. Just like that, other people's banquets were filled with toasts, groups of 2s and 3s chatting, hitting on each other and probing each other. However, at Su Yiyan's banquet, a large group of people walked around as if nothing had happened, eating and eating. Occasionally, there would be a few people who would accidentally take a fancy to the same food as the other party. The man and woman who had taken the same piece of cake froze on the spot and looked at each other in surprise. The girl blinked and looked at the tall and handsome stranger in front of her. She asked tentatively, "You want to eat this too?" "Yes. I'll give it to you then." The girl was too embarrassed to argue with him. After saying that, she sheepishly took back the tongs and prepared to find something else to eat. The man stared at her for a while. Suddenly, he picked up the pastry with a pair of tongs and placed it on the girl's plate. "You eat it? Compared with this, I actually prefer to eat this." The man smiled at her and reached for the sandwich biscuit on the other side. The girl was shaken by the man's smile. She blushed and said, "Actually, I like to eat this too." "Really? What flavor do you like?" "I like strawberry." "What a coincidence, I also like strawberry flavor." "Nice to meet you, my name is..." "Oh, hello, my name is..." The same situation happened in every corner of the banquet. It meant that something wonderful was sprouting. All the relatives and friends that Su Yiyan could invite were basically here. In addition, a certain person who had disappeared after her and Huo Qinhuan's wedding was also here. Chapter 802. Su Yiyan saw Su Yuding coming in from a distance. Her eyes lit up and she trotted over with the child in her arms. "You're always so surprised." Su Yuding saw Su Yiyan coming over and hurried over to help her hold the child in her arms. "This must be little Xingxing. This little chubby face is so cute and his facial features are so beautiful." The little guy in Su Yiyan's arms opened his big black grape-like eyes, as if he heard his great-aunt praising him. His little hands moved around and cried out. It seems that the little guy likes his aunt very much. "I like the little guy too." As Su Yuding spoke, she excitedly took out a delicate little box and said, "Baby, come and see what little gift I brought for you." Su Yuding brought a piece of jade for the little guy. Judging from its color, one could tell that it was valuable. Jade could nourish people. Su Yuding gave this thing in the hope that the little guy could grow up safely and healthily. Su Yiyan did not refuse and took it with a smile. "Then I'll thank you on behalf of the baby, aunt." Su Yuding looked at the little boy in Su Yiyan's arms and was really envious. "It's inconvenient for you to carry things. Let me help you carry him." Su Yiyan saw through her thoughts at a glance, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. "Sure, this little guy is very heavy. My hands are sore from carrying him." The little chubby baby was almost 8 kilograms when he was born. After a month of careful feeding, his weight had increased. Su Yiyan now felt strained to carry him for a little longer. The little guy was still silly and not afraid of strangers. After being carried by Su Yuding, he rolled his eyes and was full of curiosity. Su Yuding had not seen such a small child for a long time, and her heart softened. After greeting the guests, Mr. Su and the others also noticed Su Yiyan's movement. They came over and asked in surprise, "Little Ting, when did you come back?" "Just arrived." Mr. Su heard her words and could not help but feel a little emotional. His sister came and went in a hurry these years. The family had not sat down and talked for a long time. "Do you want to stay at home for a while this time?" "Yes. You've been traveling for a long time. You're not young anymore. It's time for you to settle down." Mr. Su tried his best to persuade Su Yuding before he realized what she had said. "What did you just say? You agreed?" Su Yuding smiled and nodded. "I came back this time to rest for a while. I won't be leaving." "You've thought it through?" Mr. Su was pleasantly surprised. Su Yiyan and Qing Xiuqin were also surprised. After the initial shock, he felt somewhat gratified. It's good that you've thought it through. It's good that you've thought it through. The reason why Su Yuding had been drifting outside these days was mainly because of her sensitive identity. She was adopted by the Su family. After the two elders of the Su family passed away, her position was a little awkward. It was fine when he was studying. Most of the time he lived in the dormitory. After graduation he had to go home. After a long time, some people outside with dirty mouths always liked to use her identity to gossip about her. Su Yuding heard a lot of rumors. She did not want her family to be troubled by these rotten things, so she used the excuse of traveling. These years she had been drifting outside and rarely came back. Now that she was finally willing to stay, didn't she think it through? Su Yuding looked at her few relatives in the world and dropped another bomb with a smile. Brother, sister-in-law, I'm going to get married. Chapter 803. What? Su Yuding's words were like a sudden clap of thunder. Everyone was confused and screamed out loud. Especially Su Yuding's father. The eldest brother was her father, and the eldest sister-in-law was her mother. After the two elders of the Su family passed away, he and Qing Xiuqin naturally became Su Yuding's temporary guardians. In their eyes, Su Yuding was no different from Su Yuxuan and his sister. Su Yuding was 35 years old this year. It was reasonable to say that she should find someone she liked. But the point was that she had always believed in the principle of not getting married. She had been alone all these years, and they had never heard of her having anyone around her. Now that she finally came home, she directly skipped dating and said that she was going to get married. The first reaction of Su Yuding's father and the others was that their sister aunt must have been deceived by a stinky man outside. Su Yuding had no idea that she had become a fool in her family's eyes. Facing everyone's surprised eyes, Su Yuding said sweetly, "You didn't hear wrong. I'm going to get married." "So soon? Ting, you weren't deceived by, right?" Before Su Yuding's father could finish, Qing Xiuqin pulled him behind him. "Your brother means that we are all very happy that you found someone you like. But isn't it a bit too soon to say that you're going to get married as soon as you come back? After all, we haven't seen your boyfriend." Su Yuding knew what they were worried about. She opened her mouth and was about to explain when she saw a familiar figure coming in from outside. Su Yuding's eyes lit up slightly and she waved at the person. The few of them saw her actions and subconsciously followed her gaze. They saw a man who looked to be about the same age as Su Yuding. He was tall and strong and he looked quite simple and honest as he walked towards them. As soon as the man came closer, Su Yuding took the initiative to hold his hand and introduced him to them. "Brother, sister-in-law, this is my boyfriend Du Jingshan." Du Jingshan looked at the two and smiled foolishly. "Brother, sister-in-law, hello. I'm Du Jingshan, Tingting's boyfriend. Everyone in the Su family." This man didn't look very smart. However, one could know a person's face but not his heart. A liar wouldn't write the word liar on his forehead. A man like Du Jingshan who looked very deceiving needed extra attention. Maybe their sister aunt was confused by his appearance. Thinking of this, Su's father and the others looked at Du Jingshan's eyes became more vigilant. "Did you come here together? You guys were together when you were abroad?" "Yes, we were together, and we came here together today. He went to find a parking space just now. I was anxious to see Yen Yen and the baby, so I came in first." Of the Sus of the Sus of the Su families of their eyes of their of the eyes of love of their eyes. Of the head of the head of the of the head of the head of the ofs? Of the of this of the heads of the head, of the of Su Yian had already brought the child back. Seeing her father's angry face, she was afraid that he would get angry on the spot, so she quickly helped to mediate. "Go. Dad, Mom, Auntie, let's find a place to sit down and talk. There are too many people here." Su Yuding and the others then remembered that they were still at the banquet. It was indeed not a good place to talk with people coming and going. Su's father temporarily suppressed the anger in his heart and a lot of questions, and asked his daughter to help find a suitable place for them to talk. If he didn't clear up this matter today, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Chapter 804. The hotel they were in was originally Zheng Qianyang's property, and now it was temporarily transferred to Su Yiyan's name. It wasn't difficult for them to find a private room where they could have a conversation. Soon, the hotel staff helped them clear out a large private room and led them there. Huo Chenhuan was greeting the Lan family and did not come over immediately. Now that he heard that Su Yiyan had specially booked a small private room, he was puzzled but still came over. When Su Yiyan saw him, she immediately lowered her voice and took the initiative to share the current situation with him. Auntie has a boyfriend and she said she wants to get married as soon as she came back. My dad's face darkened. I think my future brother-in-law will have a hard time today. After listening to his wife's explanation, Huo Chenhuan's eyes were also a little surprised. He had only met Su Yuding once when he married Su Yiyan. His impression of her was that she was a very energetic and opinionated woman. Su Yiyan had mentioned to him before that her auntie did not believe in marriage. Now that she suddenly said she wanted to get married, it was inevitable that he would be surprised. However, from Huo Chenhuan's impression of her, it was not impossible for Su Yuding to do this. As soon as they sat down, Father Su looked like he was interrogating a criminal. With a cold face he asked several questions like a machine gun. Tell me, how did you meet? When did you start dating? How long have you been together? Who was the one who pursued who? Su Yuding burst out laughing and said helplessly, Brother, you asked too many questions this time. Which one do you want him to answer first? Father Su glared at his sister and did not compromise. Answer carefully, don't leave out any of them. Brother? Father Su glared at her. Did I ask you? Let him say it himself. Su Yuding wanted to say something but was stopped by Du Jingshan, who smiled good-naturedly. I took the initiative to pursue Tingting. We first met in a city. At that time, Tingting went to the flower shop to buy flowers and bumped into me. I fell in love with her at first sight. Wait a minute, Qing Xiuqin heard this and hurriedly interrupted him. You said you met Tingting in a city? Then aren't you? Su Yuding was a little embarrassed. Actually, he has been pursuing me for almost 7 years. 7 years? Everyone in the room was shocked again. Why didn't we know anything about it? Su Yuding averted her gaze, feeling guilty for some reason. If I don't tell you, how would you know? The few of them choked, feeling stifled and depressed. There was also a sadness of being excluded. On the contrary, Su Yiyan was quite curious about the relationship between the two. She smiled faintly and asked, Auntie, you've been running around for the past few years and he's been chasing you for 7 years. Does that mean he's also running around with you? Yeah. When Mr. Su and the others heard this, they couldn't sit still. A grown man who didn't have a good career and was running around chasing after a beautiful girl. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't sound reliable. What do you do? Du Jingshan subconsciously glanced at Su Yuding and said truthfully, I was a venture capitalist in my early years. Later I made some money and bought an island by myself. Ahem, he bought a deserted island that no one wanted. The initial transaction was not big. But I didn't expect that after he bought it, he started to develop it. Not long after, he dug out a huge diamond mine on the island. That mine alone is enough to buy a few more islands like that. Everyone? Buying a deserted island and digging out a diamond mine? Was this the legendary fortune favors fools? Chapter 805. Du Jingshan, who was really rich, touched his head embarrassedly and giggled. I've been lucky since I was a child and I rarely fail in the things I invest in. Buying an island has been my dream since I was a child, but I didn't expect such a surprise after buying it. Su Yiyan and the others. Is this guy the legendary European king? Cough, besides this island, do you have any other industries? Brother? Su Yuding was a little dissatisfied with her brother asking these questions as if he was checking her account. Du Jingshan could understand that he was worried that his sister would suffer with him, so he wanted to know more about his family's situation. I have a lot of industries under my name and they are a little scattered. Most of them are my private investments. Du Jingshan roughly explained his family's situation. His parents were still alive, but they had divorced in their early years and had their own small families. Generally they wouldn't contact him. As for the businesses under his name, they were really many and scattered. Most of them were from his early investments. He hadn't been very diligent in managing them over the years, but he had been able to maintain a basic profit and accumulate a large amount of wealth for him. It was fine if Du Jingshan didn't say it, but after he said it, the few people present couldn't help but feel a little jealous. Sure enough, comparisons were odious. They had worked hard for decades, but they didn't earn as much as he casually invested everywhere. At this moment, everyone felt the crushing pressure from the European king, and they felt jealous on the spot. Father Su opened his mouth and just wanted to say something, but Du Jingshan had already giggled very sensibly. I like investing, but I don't know how to manage it. So, after I get married to Tingting, I'm going to transfer all these industries to Tingting and let her help me manage them. As soon as he said this, everyone was stunned again, especially the few girls present. They all cast him a look of admiration at the same time. Wow, this young man is quite sensible. He even knows to take the initiative to hand over his salary after marriage. In fact, when a girl cares about your little treasury, it may not be because she covets your money, but because she enjoys the care that you put in the tip of your heart. At least on this point, Du Jingshan passed the test. Just like Su Yuding, she was usually a very strong and independent person. When she heard Du Jingshan say that in front of so many people, her face couldn't help but reveal a little girl's shyness and sweetness. Su Yiyan, on the other hand, subconsciously glanced at Du Jingshan. She felt that compared to Wen Jingping and Hua Xiaofeng, this man in front of her was more like the son of heaven. He had the constitution of a koi fish. Putting aside the fact that he could earn money from whatever he invested in, the most important thing was that he didn't look like a bad person and had perseverance. He didn't know how to play tricks and snatch, and he wasn't like Hua Xiaofeng, who said that he liked you, but in fact he never put you in the same position as him in his heart. If he didn't even show the least bit of respect, how could he gain the respect of others? Mr. Su choked. He really couldn't find fault with the person in front of him. He could only frown and ask, "You gave all your assets to Tingting. Aren't you afraid that she'll hold on to them and refuse to give them to you? If that's the case, you won't be able to invest whatever you want in the future." "I'm not afraid." Du Jingshan smiled foolishly, with a sweet look on his face as if he had already thought about their future. "If I really want to invest in something, I'll discuss it with Tingting. If it's reliable, I believe she'll understand. If it's not reliable, I'll have some time to cool down and not go out and spend money." Chapter 806. Du Jingshan couldn't help but touch his head again, which seemed to have become his habit when he was nervous. "I admit that I have some luck, but people say that the amount of good luck a person can have in his life is fixed. No one knows how long my good luck will last." Du Jingshan couldn't help but turn to look at Su Yuding. "In the past, I was full and the whole family wasn't hungry. Now that I want to build a small family with Tingting, it's not enough to rely on these illusory things. It's best to work hard to make money. I won't let Tingting and our future children suffer." After hearing this, Mr. Su silently crossed out his initial impression of this person and added, "He's simple and honest, but he's not a fool. He knows how to take care of his wife and children. Not bad." When Cheng Xiuqin saw that her husband's expression had eased up, she knew that he didn't reject this future brother-in-law as much as before. Her lips curled up as she asked curiously, "You said that he pursued you for 7 years. When did you two officially get together?" The person who answered this question was not Du Jingshan, but Su Yuding. In fact, it hasn't been that long, just this year. To be precise, it was after attending the wedding of Su Yiyan and Hua Chenhuan. When Su Yuding learned that her favorite niece was going to marry a wheelchair-bound disabled person, she, like most people, thought that Su Yiyan was just angry. But when she went to the wedding in person and saw the interaction between the two, all the original imagination was overturned. Two people who really loved each other, no matter how hard they tried to hide it, they couldn't fool everyone. But because she saw that they really loved each other, Su Yuding became more and more confused. Why did her niece, who was almost spoiled by the whole family since childhood, fall in love with a man who couldn't even walk by himself? This doubt rose to the top after meeting Du Jingshan again. "What do you like about me?" Du Jingshan was stunned. He didn't expect Su Yuding to suddenly ask him this. He smiled embarrassedly and said, "I can't tell. The first time I saw you, there was a voice in my heart telling me that this is the person I want to be with for the rest of my life." "That's it?" "Of course it's not just that. At first I only had a good impression of you. But the more I interact with you, the more certain I am that you are the other half that I want. I have a bad temper, I'm not particularly beautiful, and I don't know how to do housework. I have a lot of shortcomings. You can throw a tantrum at me if you're unhappy. In my eyes, you're the prettiest. You don't have to do the housework. I can do it. If you think I'm not good enough, you can hire a nanny. I'll learn." After Du Jingshan finished speaking, He pursed his lips, as if he was a little annoyed with his clumsy tongue. He wanted to praise someone, but he couldn't come up with anything. Anyway, no matter how good other people are, I don't like them. No matter how many flaws you have, I like you. It was this sentence that made Su Yuding's heart tremble. For the first time, she found that there was such a person who only had eyes for her. It did not seem to be a bad thing. When it came to feelings, as long as the window paper was pierced through, success would naturally follow naturally. Su Yuding let go of her heart that had always been in front of Du Jingshan, and the relationship between the two gradually changed subtly. This change was so small that Su Yuding didn't notice it at first, until Du Jingshan didn't appear in front of her for 2 consecutive days. Chapter 807. This was something that had never happened between the two of them ever since they met. In the past, even when she went out for a trip, Du Jingshan would follow her from a distance. He was like a guardian, carefully protecting his goddess, but he didn't dare to approach her because he was afraid of offending her. He always made sure that she could see his figure whenever she turned her head without disturbing her. Su Yuding used to feel annoyed and impatient about this, but now she felt a sense of loss. She even thought that he was tired and didn't want to continue, or that he had a new person he liked. It wasn't until that moment that she realized that she had been used to someone following her, and used to seeing him every time she turned around. Unfortunately, it was too late. Su Yuding was a little depressed when she found out that she had fallen in love with someone. Early the next morning, she was planning to go to the next tourist destination to forget this ignorant relationship that had ended before it started. However, she saw someone standing at the door of the hotel with one hand in a plaster and a large bouquet of flowers in the other hand. Yuding, happy birthday. Later on, she found out that a certain someone wanted to give her a surprise for her birthday. He specially rented a place nearby and personally decorated it. As a result, he accidentally fell from the ladder and broke his hand. This was also the reason why he didn't show up yesterday. The hesitation in Su Yuding's heart completely collapsed at this moment. She took the bouquet from Du Jingshan and her eyes turned red on the spot. Seeing this, the silly man was very anxious. He walked around Su Yuding for a long time trying to comfort her, but because of his clumsy mouth, he only said a few words, which made his face turn red. Su Yuding couldn't help but step forward, directly hugged Du Jingshan's neck and whispered, "Fool." Du Jingshan was frozen. Before he had time to be happy that he was hugged by his goddess, he heard the word "fool," and the light in his eyes suddenly dimmed. But then he heard the second half of Su Yuding's words, "Let's be together." Du Jingshan was stunned. "What?" "I said let's be together." You say it again." "Let's be together." "You?" Du Jingshan let go of Su Yuding. His lips trembled slightly. His eyes were full of expectation, but he was also afraid that this was just a dream. Su Yuding looked at him and smiled through her tears. She pretended to be angry and said, "If you don't want to be with me, just pretend that I didn't say anything." No. Du Jingshan snapped out of his daze. "I'm just too happy. Can I hug you?" Su Yuding was almost amused by him. She couldn't believe that he had to ask for her permission in advance. "Sure." Du Jingshan's eyes lit up and he immediately picked Su Yuding up. He spun her around like a child. Su Yuding recalled the scene at that time and her eyes softened. Mr. Su saw the change in his sister's expression and knew that there was no turning back. He sighed and said seriously, "Have you thought it through?" "Yes." Su Yuding held Du Jingshan's hand tightly and smiled at him. "I want to marry him." This man who had loved her so foolishly for so many years, she was afraid that she would only meet one such man in her entire life. She wanted to keep him firmly by her side and not give him to anyone else. Chapter 808. Okay. After knowing what they needed to know, Qing Xiuqin tugged at her husband's sleeve. "Yuding's love is the most important thing. And I think Yuding has good taste. Little Du is quite good. He has pursued Yuding for so long, which shows that he is a sentimental person. Now, the most important thing is to take good care of Yuding in the future." Su Yiyan heard this and had a hard time holding back his laughter. "Mom, how could you call such a big guy who is 1.8 meters tall and as strong as a bull Little Du?" As if sensing Su Yiyan's emotions, little Xingxing also cried out. Cheng Xiuqin thought that he was echoing her, so she immediately laughed and teased him. Baby, you think so too, right? Ah. Little Xingxing saw that his grandmother was talking to him, so he cried even more loudly. Mr. Su wasn't as angry as before. His wife gave him a way out, so he didn't struggle much. All right. You make it sound like I'm the bad guy who's trying to break up a couple. You're not young anymore. You should know what you're doing. After that, he turned to Du Jingshan and said, You look quite honest. I hope you are. I only have one sister. If you dare to bully her, I will never let you go. No. Du Jingshan hurriedly said, I will treat Tingting well. I will not let anyone bully her. Brother, please rest assured. That better be the case. Mr. Su did not refute the way Du Jingshan called him, which meant that he agreed to the marriage. Su Yuding and Du Qingshan looked at each other and said cheerfully, Thank you, brother. What are you thanking me for? You chose it yourself. As long as you don't regret it. After Su Yuding and Du Jingshan talked about the matter, the atmosphere between them was not as serious as before. As the hosts of the banquet, Su Yiyan and Du Qingshan could not leave for long. A group of people quickly left the small private room and went to find the people from the Cheng and Lan families. Huo Qinhuan's short absence made the two families sit together by coincidence. Because Su Yiyan had casually mentioned Qin Shueru's pregnancy when they were in the Lan family, the two families quickly became familiar with each other. Cheng Juanhao and his wife, as well as Lan Minghan and his wife, brought their children over today. The Lan family's baby was 2 to 3 months younger than little Porridge. He was also a boy. Is this your Bao? He looked really sturdy. Previously, when young aunt came to our house, she mentioned that her aunt was also pregnant. She also shared with me many things that pregnant women should pay attention to. She said that she heard it from you. At that time, I really wanted to meet you. Qin Shueru did not expect such a reason. Her expression softened. I'm old. When I was pregnant with this child, my family was more nervous. Your baby looks so good. He's white and chubby, pink and tender. He's not like our baby who's so black like a charcoal ball. The little guy from the Lan family rarely went out. His little face was round and white. Compared to little Porridge, who was brought out to show off every day by his grandfather, who had become a charcoal ball under the sun, they were the polar opposite. At this moment, the little guy was staring at little Porridge without blinking. He seemed to be wondering why this baby, who was about the same age as him, was so black. When old Master Cheng heard his daughter-in-law's words, he was not convinced. So what if he's black? It's healthy to be black. Yin was much darker than him when he was young. Su Yiyan, who had just walked closer with the baby in her arms, heard this. Grandpa, can you not sentence me in public so easily? Give your granddaughter some face. Chapter 809. Old Master Cheng's words made everyone laugh. Su Yiyan's mouth twitched slightly. Seeing that everyone was so happy, he didn't say anything in the end. In addition to these three families, Su Yiyan also sent an invitation to Ling Xiaoqi. It was just that Ling Xiaoqi came relatively late, and beside her was a flower protector. When Su Yiyan saw the two of them appear together, he was stunned. He sized them up and said jokingly, You're here to attend my son's 1-month-old banquet with your family? Ling Xiaoqi's expression froze, and then her face turned red. She stomped her feet anxiously and said, Yiyan, what nonsense are you talking about? What family? We're not. Not what? Ling Xiaoqi choked and stole a glance at Ning Xiyuan. It's not what you think. Oh. Su Yiyan nodded perfunctorily and changed the topic. If it's not what I think, then what is it? Ling Xiaoqi pursed her lips and didn't say anything. Ning Xiyuan's lips curved slightly, and he stood up to smooth things over for her. Miss Su, don't make fun of us. Miss Ling and I met on the way, and it happened to be on the way, so we came together. Su Yiyan raised his eyebrows. On the way. Su Yiyan had been to the Ning family before, and Su Yiyan also knew where Ling Xiaoqi was staying now. The two places were in two completely different directions. On the way? Like hell, I'll believe you. However, considering that Ling Xiaoqi was thin-skinned, he might really anger her if he continued to tease her. It's indeed not safe for a girl like Xiaoqi to come out at night. I feel much more at ease now that President Ning can send her here on the way. Thank you. Miss Su, you're too polite. It's just a small matter. The two of them looked at each other with a tacit understanding and laughed. Just then Huo Qinhuan came over. Su Yiyan stuffed her baby into his arms and said in a low voice, "I'm going to the bathroom. You take the baby and greet them. I'll be back soon." Hua Chenhuan furrowed her eyebrows and said worriedly, "Me too, you want to go too?" Before Hua Chenhuan could say anything, Ling Xiaoqi, who had been eavesdropping, spoke first with a subtle expression. "Are you too serious? You even have to go to the bathroom together. So, are you going to the men's room or the women's room?" As soon as these words were spoken, the guests' gazes were all focused on Su Yiyan and Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan, Hua Chenhuan. Su Yiyan blushed and coughed softly. "We're just going to the bathroom. This is Uncle's territory. Nothing will happen." Hua Chenhuan was silent for a moment before compromising. "Come back early." "Okay." As soon as Su Yiyan left, Zai Zai immediately waved his little hands and cried out. And with his cry, everyone realized that this 1-month-old baby was being held in Hua Chenhuan's arms. Damn, the boss is holding the little prince. Isn't the point the boss's standard posture of holding a baby? It's obvious that he often holds the baby at home. Maybe he even helped change the baby's diapers. It's not impossible if you think about it carefully. With how much the boss cares about Madam, he definitely doesn't want Madam to be tired from taking care of the baby. Shouldn't he help? Are you stupid? It's not like the boss doesn't have a nanny at home. Why would he need Madam to take care of the baby? How tired can she be? Then explain why the boss's posture of holding the baby is so skillful. Chapter 8:10. She was met with a long silence. After some time, someone covered his face and wailed softly. The domineering Xiao turned into a virtuous stay-at-home dad in a second. "This is too much of a shock. I need to calm down." Ning Xiyuan also needed to calm down. Ling Xiaoqi had visited the family Hua many times during Su Yiyan's confinement period, so she was used to seeing Hua Chenhuan with a baby. This was the first time Ning Xiyuan had seen it. His gaze drifted to the child. He happened to see Hua Chenhuan looking down at Zai Zai in his arms. The father and son looked at each other and the atmosphere was a little tense. If it had been anyone else, they would have cried when they saw Hua Chenhuan's cold face. However, the little guy seemed to be very happy. He waved his arms and babbled. Hua Chenhuan didn't know what he was saying. He shook him twice symbolically and asked with a serious face, "Are you hungry? Or do you want to pee?" Ning Xiyuan. "Wake up. He's only a month old. He cries when he's hungry or peeing. Do you think he needs to tell you in advance?" The employees who were gathered together and whispering not far away had already recovered from the initial shock. Once they accepted Hua Chenhuan's stay-at-home dad's side, their feelings towards their big boss instantly became complicated. On one hand, they felt that this was definitely not the domineering big boss who could stop children from crying at night. On the other hand, they felt that this big boss was too down-to-earth. They were in the same world and had the same father. No matter who you were, you had to feed your child and change his diapers when you became a stay-at-home dad. There were even a few people who were thinking rebelliously, "Little prince, give me a piss. I want to see the big boss change the little prince's diapers." A few female employees were mesmerized by Su Yiyan's baby's beauty. They were itching to take a few photos of the baby. Hua Chenhuan was holding Zai Zai. Father and son were in the same frame. To them, this was a scene from the heavens. His claws were restless and he wanted to take out his phone to take a picture of this scene. However, he did not forget the identity of these two people and did not dare to act rashly. On the other hand, Yu Zian and the other two didn't have as many concerns. After being stunned for a while, the three of them decisively turned their cameras to Hua Chenhuan and started recording a short video. This extremely contrasting scene had to be recorded and stored properly. If Hua Chenhuan left them to work overtime in the future, they could take out this video and watch it. It would also be a consolation. As for whether he would be held accountable by Hua Chenhuan, in a while they would pass a copy of this to young Madam. With young Madam around, no matter how angry young master was, he wouldn't do anything to them. They were really clever. Su Yiyan, who had no idea that she had become a scapegoat, couldn't wait to go back to see the little brat after going to the bathroom. In her anxiety, she did not notice that there was someone in the corridor outside the bathroom. One ran out and the other walked in. The two of them inevitably bumped into each other. Su Yiyan screamed and subconsciously leaned back. She thought that she was going to fall to the ground this time, but an excessively white hand suddenly reached out and accurately grabbed her wrist, forcibly pulling her back. Su Yiyan steadied herself and patted her chest with lingering fear. She didn't come back to her senses for a long time until, "Are you okay?" Su Yiyan finally remembered the person who bumped into her. She looked up and narrowed her eyes. "You," before she could finish speaking, she seemed to have realized something. Her face suddenly darkened. Damn it, this guy was still holding her hand and not letting go. Chapter 8:11. The man's hand was very cold, so cold that it was not the temperature that a human should have. This coldness came from the place where the two touched, and a row of goosebumps appeared on the back of Su Yiyan's hand. Su Yiyan struggled for a while, but she did not move at all. Her patience was also exhausted. "Sir, please let go of my hand or else. Su Yiyan's eyes were full of hostility, "Or else you may not be able to keep your hand." Do Channy was stunned, and then he could not help but laugh. "Miss Su seems to be different from the rumors." Su Yiyan rubbed her aching wrist and frowned when she heard his words. "Do you know me?" Do Channy did not answer directly but asked back, "Miss Su doesn't know me? Why should I know you?" Do Channy looked at her deeply and smiled. "It's okay if you don't know me. You will know me soon." Su Yiyan's face changed slightly. Just as she was about to say something, Do Channy had already turned and left. Su Yiyan subconsciously took a step forward and stopped. She looked at his back as he walked away with a complicated expression on her face. What was this person doing here? The person in question had already left, so there was no way to answer this question. Su Yiyan pursed her lips and turned back to the banquet. Huo Chenhuan had been waiting outside for a long time. When she saw her come out, she immediately went to greet her. "What took you so long?" "Something happened," Su Yiyan said as she carried the baby back, looking serious. "What happened?" "I just met Do Channy at the bathroom door." "Do Channy?" Huo Chenhuan's face changed immediately. Thinking about how Do Channy had never given up on searching for Su Yiyan, Huo Chenhuan immediately pulled Su Yiyan over nervously. "Did he do anything to you?" "No." Su Yiyan shook her head and briefly explained what had happened. "I wanted to come back to you guys as soon as possible. When I came out, I was in a hurry and bumped into him at the bathroom door. He helped me up and left without saying a word." Huo Chenhuan looked at the red mark on Su Yiyan's wrist that had yet to fade. Her eyes were deep and serene. Just like Su Yiyan, he also felt that Do Channy's appearance here and his encounter with Su Yiyan was definitely not as simple as a coincidence. Most importantly, how did he get in here? In order to hold the little fellow's 1-month-old birthday party, this hotel had closed its doors today and specially emptied the venue. Non-invitees were not allowed to enter. Logically speaking, Do Channy should not have been able to enter. Su Yiyan was reminded by him and realized that something was wrong. She frowned and said, "Maybe he got in with someone's invitation." They had sent out neither too many nor too few invitations. Just the employees of Huo Chenhuan's company alone had sent out an unknown number of invitations. With Do Channy's ability, it was not difficult for him to get an invitation and sneak in. However, if this was the case, it further proved that his appearance here today was intentional and not a coincidence. Huo Chenhuan thought deeper than Su Yiyan. If Do Channy really got an invitation from someone else and sneaked in, if this person was a businessman it would be fine. But if this person was an employee of his company, he sold his invitation just for a little money. This alone could not be allowed to stay. Moreover, most of the employees in his company had some guesses about Su Yiyan's identity. If he had really been bribed, then Do Channy had already. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.